Hey everybody, this is Dimensions of the Supernatural on this hot, hot day. I am Maureen Grudzinski, a Lil Witchy, and this is my great co-host Anthony Simonelli, also known as Mr. Forget About It.
Hey, forget about it. Hey. How you
I'm
doing?
so hot I can't remember anything. So I'm working with a fan. If it bothers anybody, let me know, and then I'll just sweat to death. We are here tonight with a great guest. His name is David Oman. He is the owner of a home on Cielo Drive, and that is where, unfortunately, the Tate murders happened. We are going to get right into it because there's a lot of information. We want to ask a lot of questions. We're going to let you guys ask a lot of questions. You guys have a great comment section every time. So here he is, the man, David Oman.
Hey, David, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you, Anthony? It's nice to finally make your acquaintance.
Hey, well,
hearing your voice, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, forget about it. We'll take care of it. It's all good.
Hey, don't get to whack anybody.
Yeah, you know it.
Not yet.
We got more to look after, in the ghost world. We can look for them then.
No, we send them to the ghost world. What are you talking about?
They come to us. Investigate them.
This is going to be a killer of a show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's working, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, yeah. The old school from the old school. Yeah, I understand completely. I gotcha. You're good.
Take the gun.
You're good. Yeah.
Leave the gun and take the cannolis. I know.
Exactly.
Okay, we could play all day with this, guys, but we have
go
lots to cover. We don't want to miss a little nook or cranny. Hi, everybody out there in the comment section or wherever you're watching from. So, okay, where do we start? David.
Where do we start? At the beginning.
Right at the very beginning is, why did you and your dad choose to build this house on Cielo Drive?
Money. Straightforward. I'll get right to the bone. Everyone thinks that I'm a devotee, a super fan, a freaky fan of Sharon Tate's. And in fact, I try to explain as many times as I've been asked and try to explain what it is and why we ended up getting this lot. And it's completely money. I mean, bottom line, my dad, 26 years ago in 1998, late November, Sunday morning, I get a call at 8 a.m. I'm passed out, exhausted, tired. He's like, David, get up. And I'm like, it's like this. I remember it's like, yeah, what's up, Dad? It's 8 a.m. Get up. And I was like, all right, I'm hearing what? And he says, I found a lot in the LA Times classified section. Now, This is before the internet. This is before you had Google, etc. And he was using the old-fashioned newspapers in the classified sections. And he says, I found a lot. I said, yeah, so? He goes, it's $40,000. I said, okay, you got my, I said, he goes, it's in Beverly Hills. At that point, I kind of began to wake up to this thing, and I'm starting to say, I can't shake him. He's serious. He's not going to let this go. I got to get, so I said, I said this exactly. I said, Dad, let me guess. The listing says 40K. And he goes, yeah. I said, Dad, it's a freaking misprint. I said, where is there such a thing as a piece of real estate, a lot in Beverly Hills? That's $40,000.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes, well, it's in the foreclosure section, so you don't know. And I just said, oh, well, you didn't say that, Dad. I'm thinking, it does make a little difference. So I said, okay, all right. I said, all right, tell me the details. And he goes, it's down the street from your godfather's house up on Benedict Canyon. And it's in a street named Cielo Drive. Now, going back, see, people today are going to, well, didn't you recognize it was Cielo? It's like, look, today is today.
Yeah.
What you know today is not the way it was 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of hoopla. I mean, there were the Sharon Tate fans and people who knew of it and stuff that the Hollywood, historians knew of that, but there was no Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There was no Sharon, this was the hauntings of Sharon Tate, and there wasn't all these movies. So it was kind of like under the seams of the area. I didn't really pay attention. It didn't ding, 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 ding. Mm-hmm. So I get out my old Thomas Guide map book again, before the internet and MapQuest and Google Maps, we had these maps, used to get yourself from point A to point B in so many ways to get there. Use the map book. So I found the street, and oh shit, nothing. Forget this. So I sat and I drove up with my two dogs, and as I drive up the driveway, I'm getting flashbacks from high school, going, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" This is where the Sharon Tate murders took place. So when I parked the car, I'm looking down the driveway, and I'm like, and seeing this chain link fence and this whole big construction going on at the end of the street. And I'm like, what the fuck? I said, I haven't been here in like 20 years since high school. So I'm looking there and I'm going, this is freaking nuts, isn't it? It's like, wow. So my dad drives up in his 1998 Firebird. The man's 82 years old, still pissing vinegar, and is full of piss and vinegar. And it's like, the man was a Spitfire, as I used to say. He didn't look 82, he didn't act it, and he certainly didn't behave like you would expect, like with a walk or nose. He's running, and I says, what do you think of this lot? And I said, Dad, that's where the Sharon Tate murders took place. And he looks at me like the scowl almost, like one, like what the? And the first person goes, who the hell gives a crap about what happened? Some X amount of years ago. Your focus is to look at this piece of real estate, and I want you to focus. And I look down, I look at this literally the slope of the hill. It's probably about a good 35-degree slope going down. And I go, well, it's kind of steep, isn't it? He goes, oh, I love this. I said, I know. I said, I know, Dad, you like to build on lots that are, as you say, difficult to build because they're cheap to buy. Because nobody wants the challenge, he says. And as I look closely, I started to notice that I'm seeing steel rebar, which is part and parcel to the beginning stages of putting down a foundation on the slope of the hill. And I said, Dad, I said, am I crazy or do I see between all these weeds? I said, I could swear to God, I see like steel rebar. And I went down like 7 feet down the slope and I noticed it. Sure enough, that's what there was. And he goes, yeah, apparently somebody started to build on this property and the city must have shut them down or something happened because if you have rebar on the surface, he says, the only reason why you have that steel mesh cages on the surface going down the hill, it means, he goes, if that's there, then you know what else? I said, what? He goes, they have already put in the caissons, which in building hillside homes, you need to drill into the earth 2-foot diameter holes that go right straight down through the soft soil to hit bedrock and then penetrate into the bedrock. So that is what you're going to anchor the foundation upon. So he goes, if there's rebar, he goes, then there's got to be caissons. And if there's caissons, there's got to be about a dozen caissons because he sees that there's 1, 2, 3. I think there was 3 sets of like, you can see where the cross the hillside. Mm-hmm. And it says that means there's got to be about, I'd say probably 4 caissons per each lane. And it says if that's the case, they just saved you $100,000 in construction costs because that's there, and you don't put the rebar just on the hill willy-nilly. It's got to be secured to something. He goes like this. He looks at me. He goes like this. Chad from the side goes, do you know this could be an absolute steal and a half if we can get this for $40,000? I said, no. I said, fact is, I said it's 1/10 the value. It's like a $300,000 lot if it was buildable. You got $100,000 worth of the costs of drilling the holes, then pouring the steel cages down into, and then putting the concrete in there, and then
all the labor.
Because it's already there. He goes, you see, he goes,
cement and everything, yeah.
And my father's like this. He goes, we could build this house and we could sell this for a deal, and then you could buy yourself a house. And I'm thinking, Dad, since I was yay high, like 5, 6 years old, I said, you've been building houses and I've been on the job sites, and you built my sister bought a vacant lot, picked up a great piece of real estate, double lot that she sold the other lot and built her own house on. And my father built that. And I was there during the construction of that. And I said, I'm thinking, the hell are you going to sell this place? I'm thinking, I've been waiting all my life. It's my wildest dream to build a house with you that I'm going to live in, because the house I was born in, he had built that house out of the ashes of the Bel Air fire and built that house. And it was like, Dad, I like the idea of what you've taught me and what I've learned from the trade. And the fact that he said, I did this. This is my design. You'd never find this in another house. I said, well, no shit, Dad. The house I grew up in had a 40, 50 foot long, not tall. It was 12 feet high, but it went out. Fiddle leaf ficus. That was my dad's. When we built the house, there was a little, I kid you not, the plant was probably all of 5 feet, maybe 4.5 feet long. And it was literally about less than a foot wide. And out of this thing was, and the base of the tree by this time when I was growing up was about this big. And it came up and it was strung and split up in 2 different directions and branched. Whoops, sorry about that. 2 different directions. He had literally had to take steel wires and put the anchors in the ceiling to keep it up, because, the thing was just spreading out, growing towards the windows, towards the patio. And it was like, I said, Dad, look, I don't have no arguments with your design motifs. I said, you've done a great job in the houses I've seen you build. I said, I'm thinking that's what I want. I want the input so that I'm not buying somebody else's. I'm being because my dad's, the craftsman of craftsmen. And so I was like, in the back of my head, I said, the hell we're going to do that. If I'm going to do this, I'm doing this because this is my own home that I'm going to put the blood, sweat, and tears and sweat equity into. To build it from scratch, and there's no chance that I'm going to give this away, especially because at 82, this was the last house he was ever going to build, ever. And it was like,
82.
I'm taking advantage of this opportunity. If I don't, there won't be one. And I like I said, the money and the time that we saved by us building it with a couple of laborers was the best. I'll take that to my grave as far as memories are concerned and how much fun it was. And I can look at things and say, yeah, I remember when we poured the concrete and I etched the name in that, when we did this and we did that and I had to do that. I mean, to me, that's the joy of it. My sister doesn't get it. She's like, I need to do this. We're going to be mad. We're going to sell it. It's like, the hell you're going to sell it? I'll die before you sell this place. Ever. I love this house. It's incredible. And it's a legacy because my mom was super instrumental herself in the finishing touches, picking out the granite, picking out the types of tiles that were going to go in, picking out the fixtures for the lights and stuff. And I mean, they're both gone. So to me, that's it. And here's another thing. It's because of what I just expressed to you that you say, well, aren't you scared of ghosts? I said, scared of who? Of what? No. They owe me a debt of gratitude. And I take umbrage when they start to get hinky with me. And it's like, don't. We have arguments. I'll say to them, it's like, when I got an electric bill, got a number of years, like 14 years ago. And I was like, no. And I freaked. And they came down the hall, went to the end of the hall. And I said, spirits, I got in my freaking hand here and I'm not playing. I'm furious. I'm like, an electric bill. That's 3 times the normal fee that I pay. I said, I don't know who the hell you think you are, but I take umbrage with this and I'm offended that you think you can get away with this. I said, who the hell in the goddamn universe do you think you are? I said, my dad, my mother, and I said, my mom and dad, well, my dad at the time was still alive. I said, my mom who's passed away, and my dad who's was in Palm Springs living his last, years. I said, we put 4 years into it. It was once vacant land. I said, there was nothing ever here. So if anything, I said, your cheesy behavior. And I was I was like, this is not acceptable. I said, no. I said, I have pockets in the back of my pants. And in those pockets is a wallet. And in that wallet is some money. Not enough to pay for this bill right now. I'm like, I said, we have got to come to some goddamn arrangement because if this ever happens again, so help me. I am going to get the world's greatest exorcists, psychics, mediums, ghost whisperers, you name it. I'm going to get them to boot your asses out of here. I said, how dare you, how rude you are to take this advantage of me. I said, my good wishes, my good graces to you and letting you guys hang here. I said, I have no problem with you. But I said, in the famous words of Rodney King, can't we all get along? Just get along. And I said, that's it. I said, that's it. I quit. And by the way, do you see that black?
Yes.
Chair? Thank you. That's them. They're making their presence known here. They like to chime in when
they like turn the lights on, just leave them on.
that's when I'm on some of my podcasts. They say, "What's that flashing for you?" I say, "That's the spirits saying hello. They want to be known and they want to be acknowledged because the topic of conversation directly relates to you." I got it.
I thought it was
Audience,
just lights
Maureen.
twitching.
Yeah, well, audience, Maureen and Anthony, my unseen house guest. Now, you feel good? Have I respected you enough now with that?
Hello.
See, she even said hello to you guys, whoever the hell is in here right now.
Hello.
And Anthony just did as well. So,
You want to speak? Well, welcome. You can speak on the. We speak also.
Oh,
I would love to hear them talk.
Don't offer them the things that you don't want to deal with, because in playback, you're going to hear voices that are not my voice, and I'm here alone. My dogs are here. My dog is here. My 2 cats are here, but they're all quiet. And there's no television on, no radios. So if your audience has lots of live streams I've done, people say, "We hear somebody in the background on David's mic." And it's like, and in rewind or replay, I've heard voices whispering, very, very gentle voices whispering. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can hear them, sometimes you can't. We had a recent incident of this exact nature where some people there was a woman, a social media influencer in the 3rd level watching my movie, screening it. And I came upstairs to check on some things, and I just, something like said, "Hey," I said, "What?" He goes, "Go look at the camera in the theater room and watch what's going on." I said, "What the?" I'm here a floor above watching the camera, and I'm watching towards the end of the film. And there's a scene where there's no dialogue. It's just score. And all of a sudden I'm like, what the? I said, "Oh, I hear, there's somebody there talking and it ain't her because it's a man's voice." And I'm like, what the? So after the show, after she got done, I said, "By the way, did anything?" And no, I didn't feel anything. You didn't hear anything. She goes, "No." And she's got her headphones on. She was doing it like that for some reason. And I said, "Well, I want to show you something." So we played the video. And she's like, "Oh, shit." It's like, yeah. You see, when you least expect it, they will come across and let you know that they're there, whether you know it or not, but they notified me. Otherwise, had they not said, David, go look at the camera. And I looked at the camera at that moment, I would have missed it. What reason am I going to be watching the camera in the room, in the theater, with her watching the movie there? What point? What am I doing? Why would I? But and then that's why the video's on YouTube. It's just uncanny. I don't look for stuff. It happens. And it's just crazy. It's just the way it is.
I know some of our audience, they could probably rewatch the show just to listen for EVPs. Mm-hmm. I know I'm going to probably do it.
I might.
Like I said, if you hear a whispery voice, it is not I. And it's the caricature. I mean, the character of the music, of the sounds, how many spirits? Todd and Carmela, I'll tell you the truth. It's not what people think, because when people come here, I want to see Shan. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Shut it. I got. They want me to remark and make a very poignant or pointed. It's not poignant. It's pointed, guys. Wrong word. A pointed statement and comment about your question, which was when Lindsay Lohan came here 13 years ago. She was like, a lot of people, "I want to see Sharon Tate. I want to see Sharon Tate." And I'm like, we're not on set. If something happens, it's because they want to. And I can't predict who's going to be in relationship to you. But 9 times out of 10, there's not a hell of a lot of interest for Sharon Tate's spirit to come across to say hello to you. A, because you're demanding. B, because she has no connection to you. C, what's the point in which she's interested? Because it's not about you. I say, put yourself in her shoes. What's the motivation for her to want to say and make an appearance to you? Mm-hmm. And that's why I said, no, as Dr. Taff had said 20 years ago, the house is like a giant bipole, so that the DC EMF levels are way, 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 way off the charts. And as a result, this is like, as he expressed it, is a light bulb in the darkness. His analogy was a light bulb in the darkness attracts insects. Your house is like a light bulb in the darkness of the other plane of existence, and the spirits are drawn to it because it's a very safe environment. And so we have lots of spirits that transit through the house. According to Marianne Winkowski, the real life ghost whisperer, she goes, "Oh," I said, she goes, "Do you want?" I said, "Could you clear my house, Marianne?" I said, "Everybody says I should have it cleared," and she goes, "Honey, I can clear the house, but in 5 minutes there'll be a whole new slew of spirits in there that have nothing to do with the spirits I just cleared out and sent off." And I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "Honey, you've got a revolving door at your front door where the spirits are concerned." And I'm like, "Really?" And I was like, and she goes, and then Lisa Williams, the famous English psychic, was here after Ghost Hunters. And she said, "Oh," she goes, "your house is like a giant ghost flop house." I said, and I didn't tell her what Marianne said because I'm not one of these people that like, "Oh, I talked to this one and this one said this. And it's like, what's the benefit of asking somebody their opinion and in their field of expertise by telling them what somebody else said so that I can in some way, shape, or form taint their response? I don't want to give them information from somebody else. I like to keep them in the dark and let them speak for themselves as an individual and see what their story is so that I can, in my mind, file Lisa Williams, file Marianne Winkowski, file Chris Fleming. So each one is independent. So I don't like people to cross-pollinate. I want it to be organic to that person because I saw once a show called Dead Famous Live in the UK, and they were doing the Jack the Ripper tour. And there's a whole gaggle of like 15 psychics walking down the street through White Castle where the murders took place. And I will never forget this scene. This one psychic says, I see a man with a watch. And then the psychic next to them says, "Yes, he's very interested in time." And I'm like, "Oh, you piece of crap." I said, "Who wrote the script? It's funnier than, but I don't buy it for 2 freaking seconds." And I said,
it's entertainment.
Yeah.
It's for the entertainment value.
And I said, "Look, if I ever do an investigation here," and this is in 2003 or early 2004, I said, "If I invite any psychics in here, I'm going to do it in a way that no one has done before, ever, at any location." So it was August 20th or 29th, they brought in 4 psychics, and then on one night. But I said, I want to do it in the most scientific terms possible. So we had one psychic in a Ramada Inn, one psychic at Tiny Nailers restaurant, one psychic at a coffee shop, and another psychic that was already here that we started with. And I said, they were kept by 3 different handlers. Each one was there. I said, one goes through. We don't tell her squat. She is not notified. She doesn't know where she's going. We didn't tell her the backstory. I said, I want each one of them kept in the freaking dark. Do not mention word one, peep one. When they when we drive them up, they're blindfolded. They don't know where they're going. They come in the house. It's pretty much you go in and you just shoot them as they walk in. And then afterwards, you do the quick interview. Or you just like, "Hi, my name is," slate them, shoot. And then we had 2 cameras and a thermal imaging camera.
Right.
And so we're following us through the house. And I said, they go wherever they want to go. You go where you want, and we'll record what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. So the first one goes through, send her back to the first location we have her stationed at. Bring the next one through. All independent. They don't interact. At the end of the night, we bring them, and
that's great.
After we've done with the walkthrough, we then do an interview with them individually, send them packing. Each one is done. At the end of the night, we bring them all 4 back together, sat them down at the table in the dining room, and again, still didn't know where they were. So I said, now you get to meet the 4 of you, and we can talk amongst yourselves. We can talk to you, and let's have a group round table and see what you guys are thinking as the group collective. Again, not knowing where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Then we let the cat out of the bag and told them, and it was like because, and I've got it in my book, the book that I wrote, because I said, I want to use this for footage for a show, which we have yet to make. But I said, I wrote down all of the incidents, these events that took place on that night with the 4 different psychics, and I put it in the book. And I'm reading it over a few years, 15 years after it took place. And I'm like, as I'm writing this stuff, and I'm listening to them talk on the video and watching them. And it was weird because they're saying, I feel sharp pains in my upper chest. Oh my God. One woman says, I feel the back of my head is it just feels like it's got bashed in. Hello? Wojtek Frykowski got his brains knocked inside out.
Mm-hmm.
So since yesterday morning, I've had a wicked headache here until just now.
Thanks, guys. You're really showing your strengths. But here's what's interesting. One girl who was a school teacher got the wildest crap, meaning she was here in my office and on the floor because there's the woman there. The woman, she wants me to help her. She's got a baby. She wants me to help the baby, and this whole thing is playing out. She goes, but I can't because the baby's dead. And I'm listening, and this girl has no clue. And we're going through the house, and each one is getting different bits of information. So when we opened the key to the lock to expose where they were, it was like, this made sense. This made sense. The sharp pains, the stomachs, the grabbing this, it was just like, and I'm listening to them. It's like, what are you talking about? When I'm watching you guys, I have to keep my trap shut because everything you're saying is like going bing, 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 like they're hitting the nail on the head.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, if I didn't, first of all, conduct the investigation myself and know the circumstances under which these people were brought in and how it was so strictly monitored and that they were never at any time told anything of these people, it was just like, you'd go, wow.
It's very weird.
But the fact is the credibility factor is tenfold to what you see on television. And I've had the people that have come here that have done all the research, and Abby's, what was she say? The woman said, goes, Abby's nickname was Gibby. And I'm like, how'd you find that? I said, I did research. I was going, where you come into this house with an open book test? No, you're not fooling yourselves. You're not fooling me. You have all the information prior. Mm-hmm. What are you going to learn if you know it before you walk in? You're supposed to go in. Yeah. I know nothing. Let me see what I pick up. Let me be but nobody wants to do that because if they don't get the drop on it, it doesn't give them the hand up on knowing how they can prepare for the story, which goes to some of the people like that we know of that are on television present day and their ethical lack or their lack of ethics. And some of the people that have feature films, franchises born out of the bullshit of their stories that are books. And I'm not going to name names, but I think we all know who those people are. They're long since dead. But the irony is when I was a kid, they were proven to be frauds and debunked. So that 40 years later or 30 some odd years later, some asshat producer decided to take these books and say, hey, this is great content we can make into use for this one movie. And then this one's going to turn into, then they just turned into a goddamn factory of bullshit. And it's like, something? I hate those things. I can't stand them because they're made for entertainment, but a lot of people believe in the backstories and don't know the truth. And then, are hoodwinked by it. I don't.
This is a good question. I love this.
I hope it's something important.
Thank you, Jenny.
I don't know what all that is. I don't leave a message. What's the most interesting piece of information psychic that you didn't know before? We'll confirm. I'll tell you honestly, Jenny, that we have been fed a book of lies about the paranormal since God knows when. I mean, look, I'm not trying to
we as a collective. Is that what you mean? We as a collective.
The myths. I don't lies. I call myths lies because they're man's rationalization of what their hopes and aspirations, and psychologists would say the dreams of what would be nice if it was the way it was, if we could have that way of being in the afterlife. And it's like, well, I got news for you. We've been fed a bunch of shit, to be blunt. Meaning, be careful what you wear when you go out today, because if you die, you're going to be
in it.
Bullshit. Absolute crock of crap beyond repair. Not
Anthony,
true.
good for you. You're not going to be left in that shirt.
You're not going to trust me. And
eternity.
If you had plastic surgery, I have a feeling, and if you had stuff that made your hair a different color than the natural color, because I'm going by the one and only experience I had seeing an apparition, which was Jay Sebring. And that there was a lot of things that happened on that one instance that ended up crashing and burning a lot of the myths that we've been taught and told about the paranormal. And one of them is that, you come back the way, you died. Wrong answer on that one. You do not come back the way you died. You do not get to return looking like American Werewolf in London, where the original one that John Landis did 40 years ago, where his friend kept coming back. Griffin Dunne, thank you. Griffin Dunne was the character that kept coming back. And each time he returns as the undead, he's a little bit more, decomposed. And it's like, wrong answer. That's a crock. When I saw Jay Sebring's apparition, I didn't recognize it as Jay Sebring because he had hair. He was a hairstylist. And in the 60s, the big thing of the 60s was straight hair. Mm-hmm. Jay didn't have naturally straight hair. He had kinky hair. So it was kind of kinked. It didn't have a permanent wave to it. A small, whatever you would call it. Sorry, Jay, I'm trying to communicate as best I can. I don't know the gosh darn hairstylist terminology. I'm sorry. He's like, did you really say kinked hair? Because, he goes, that sounds a little bit, It's like, no, not kinky sex-wise, kinked hair. Because I know what you said, but it didn't sound right. It's like, shit. I'm getting editorialized by a dead man.
So wait, when you
a dead friend. All right, you're a dead friend.
When you see him,
his hair is like something.
Something did fall.
Yeah, something went blown, just got thrown off my back desk at me. Was this?
Yeah,
it was thrown at you.
I just got an award for because I do spirit art. I draw the I can see spirits and I sketch them, and I won an award for it.
Congratulations!
At an art show, and something just got thrown.
It was thrown at.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate that.
Get hit in the back with it.
So he didn't, and he wasn't wearing the clothes. He wasn't wearing that shirt and then those striped jeans that we've all seen. He also said, I'm not going to criticize your striped jeans. Shut it. I didn't. Did I?
They show themselves how they want to be perceived, younger.
No,
their hair the way they want it.
Hair was, you can't, again, the product that he had in his hair that he created to get men's hair straightened out, the hair relaxant, doesn't translate into the afterlife. So when I saw him, he was in a suit. He didn't have any gunshot wounds. He didn't have a kick in his his nose wasn't broken from having the foot planted in his face. He looked fine. It wasn't that he wasn't in living color. He was in shades of gray. So it was all muted tones, all shades of gray, dark gray for the tie. The hair was charcoal, black gray. And he was just there. He didn't look like a guy that had been shot, stabbed, etc. None of that. He was as handsome as he was when he was alive. I know.
But why gray? That doesn't make sense. Because they'll show themselves the way they want to look. Like when my mom passed away, she didn't look ill. She was in white pajamas, pristine, red high heels, which she was not allowed to wear in life because of the way her feet hurt. Her hair was done, great makeup, and just sitting with her legs crossed, and she looked amazing.
Oh, wow.
So it's how they want to look for you. They want to look for themselves. They show themselves.
UFI made some comments. Should one base their own perception of reality upon the perceptions of another? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Context is important, isn't it? No.
I believe.
That's where you're wrong. See, there's the thing about context. Context is human ego speak. And that's why
perception and intention.
Spirits don't give a rat's ass what we want. We're not to them. We're not the center of the universe. To them, they don't care. They do what they want, and they're not trying to have you die to join the dead side. They said, where do people come up with the idea that spirits on this side want them to say, you're all going to be here at some point. They're not trying to increase the speed and duration by which you pass on. That's not in their game. That's human BS.
No, but don't you think that they don't want to scare us, so they'll show up looking a certain way?
They don't want to scare us just by their presence. That's why a lot of times they know better, because first and foremost, spirits can read your thoughts no matter what you want to hide behind, and you're cloaked in your mind, they can read your thoughts. That's a fact as well. I've learned that here. That
Yes,
once walking down the hallway, and it's on a video, I threw my hand up at 1:45 in the morning, washing my clothes, and I thought to myself, spirits, I got you covered. You're good. And I threw my hand up, and then I hear this. Knock, knock. And I stopped dead in my tracks 5 feet from the camera on the stairwell. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a burglar. And then it's like, what do you mean there's a burglar? What burglar is going to freaking knock, knock to say, I'm here? I said, no, not a burglar. And it's like, oh shit, it's not a burglar. I said, then it's a spirit, because I'm alone. And I'm like, and I'm starting to go back to thinking, oh yeah, it's a spirit. That's cool. But wait a second. I didn't say anything. It's like, no. You didn't say anything. You thought something, gestured to the spirits, and they reacted to that. At which point, upon going up the staircase, I said out loud, and it's on the video, I said, spirits, I said, you mean to tell me you can read my freaking mind? I said, so there are no safe harbors, are there? I said, I can't bullshit with you and say one thing and believe another, meaning you can't say do this and do this. It's not gonna work with them. They are purely, they know they're straight and narrow. And your idea of lying and bullshitting to them, why do you think a spirit doesn't manifest in front of certain people, or how they want to be delicate about trying to communicate with you? Because they know in your heart of hearts, their manifestation is going to be the downfall of your brain. Because a lot of people, I want to see it go. So the second they do, they shit in their pants, they run out, and they can't deal with it.
I know too many people that ran out of they're investigating and go out, spend all this money on equipment. Then they see a full body apparition manifest in front of them. I don't see them no more. They're gone.
It's the titillation, I think. It's the anticipation, but not the true statement of, and look, I'm up until 20 years ago, next month, which it'll be 20-year anniversary, when I saw Jay's apparition. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I haven't seen any full body apparitions since, but I've had stuff happen where I know they're here, where I hear voices and stuff gets knocked over and things, the dog's just like reacting in a way. So the idea is that spirits aren't trying to scare you. They have scaring is part of your ego talking, because why would a spirit give a crap in a rat's ass to scare you? If your reaction is to be scared because their manifestation in front of you, that's not about them. That's about your perception, and you're dealing with it and understanding that you have 3 choices in any situation in life: fearful response, dumb response, fearful response, curious response. And here's the example. You're walking outside, it's a hot summer day, there's a snake in the road in front of you. And the dumb response is, whoa, there's a snake there. Let me go up there and touch him. Nice snake, and gets bitten, and thus he dies, because he's a poisonous snake. The fearful response is, oh my God, there's a snake. Where's the goddamn hatchet? Give me a goddamn machete. Give me something to kill this son of a bitch. And it turns out the snake is one of the rarest of its kind. There's 1 or maybe 2 are left in the world. I'm setting up the scenario, of course. And it's not harmless, but you're so overwhelmed with fear that you can't rationally deal with the situation and circumstances, because fear motivates your response. So it's fight or flight, and you got to do this or that, and the snake's just sitting there, not doing a damn thing, just sitting there soaking up the sun. And and then the third response is the curious response, which is like, oh my God, it's a snake. Wow, that's a big snake. Wow, I got to calm down and hold myself calm and keep rational. Because if you're calm, you have a chance to stay rational and deal with the circumstances and not flip out and react in a way that you could hurt yourself or hurt something or injure or kill something that doesn't deserve to be harmed whatsoever. So you say, that's interesting. I gotta get my cell phone out and nowadays, take a picture and see what species is and see. It's like, oh my God, that's the rarest snake. Wow. And the snake, again, hasn't moved an inch. It's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's about how you perceive it, because a snake is no threat to anybody. It's just doing its thing. Same with a ghost. Ghost is there. Okay, so a ghost is there. It's like, okay. And I'm like, that's cool. What are you up to? Because I talked to the spirit. I said, what? My mom's dying at the time of cancer. So I said, Spirit, what are you here doing? What's going on? Is my girlfriend who flies through is flying Europe right now for American Airlines? Is she okay? What are you here to tell me? Meantime, the son of a gun is taking a quarter turn, his index finger, his left arm out, index finger pointing, and he's pointing like this towards what I at the time interpreted as pointing towards down the driveway. And I'm like, oh, he's pointing away from the house. And again, I don't recognize him. 3 months later, I did some research at the LAPD about my book and trying to see if there was any photographs of any used objects from the murders dropped on the side of the hill where the house is here. I didn't see anything, but I saw a picture that said Jay Sebring with his natural hairstyle, and the picture and the spirit's image were identical. And I saw the guy with the kink hair. I said, that's Sebring. That's the son of the, I can't believe that's Jay. That's with his natural. Then fast forward 8 years, crack of dawn next door, I hear the sound of tractors and earth moving equipment working on the property next door to mine, where they literally took the hillside. Like this is like the streets across here. So here's your street and here's the side of the hill. And they're starting to remove the mountain here, to remove this whole section of mountain to build the house next door to mine. Instead of doing a step foundation like we built here, these guys decided to go straight down 60 feet by an 80 feet of frontage on the street and remove the whole wedge of the mountain. So in fact, Sebring was pointing towards the property next door 8 years before ground was broken for the construction of the house next door to mine. That's what he was pointing to.
Interesting.
Makes sense. Meaning, if that's the case, and I've said this before, and people hate me saying this, as Shakespeare said, I will quote him in some regard. I'm not that great at remembering your line. Life is but a play. We are all but players that come upon a stage with our entrances and our exits. And we are just going through the motions of that. Because how else can you explain that Sebring's apparition is pointing towards a vacant lot that had been unsold and untouched forever? It had never had any property. No home was built on that until they sold it 8 years later, and that started the construction on the property next door to mine.
So,
strange stuff.
Oh, I have a question with these.
Okay, you go first.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Well, because when you guys actually build the house, do you think the material you used to build the house is acting like where spirits come in, and like maybe the material is drawing them in? You know,
Well,
where you're sitting on the hill and the way the rebar is set up and everything could be like a transformer, everything coming in.
Here's what the curious thing is I don't know. I think the house next door, the houses up here are obviously, there's my house, the house 2 houses down, and the house directly next door to me on that side that Jay Sebring pointed to, were all modern homes. The other 2 homes that were up here before the murders, during the murders, and were built in 1960, were matchsticks homes. They were 2-story matchsticks homes, which had cantilever. They went over the hill, and they had poles that held them up.
Okay.
Now, those homes were different because it was 1960. They weren't using steel I-beams. I know for a fact in my home, the structural engineer that my father went to decided to go with a reinforcing action of putting in 4 steel I-beams, like in a skyscraper. 2 under the second floor, supported by 3 steel columns that were embedded into the gray beam, the concrete that is embedded, connected to the foot foundation, the step foot foundation, connected to the 13 caissons that go in the ground. And then on the 3rd floor, there's again 2 steel I-beams running across the width of the house, connected to three steel pipes, again embedded in the concrete reinforced gray beam. And when Dr. Tapp was here in 2005, he brought a digital geomagnetometer, DC, meaning it doesn't register anything with alternating current, which is, for those that don't know, AC is the conduit that goes through the house.
I'm a retired electrician.
Yeah, exactly. And DC is battery power. cell phone battery power as well, lightning, static electricity. It's naturally occurring energy that exists. Totally separate. They don't.
So it's straight now. Like
right. It's a direct current.
AC is alternating current.
Right.
When it waves, it goes up and down. It has its highs and lows. There's a line in the middle. As it goes up, that's the highest, and then it goes down. So
right, alternating current, exactly.
Alternating current. Then you have DC, which direct current is straight, and that is more direct. Matter of fact, I think Edison is one.
Yes.
DC current, and Tesla did alternating current, which
right.
alternating current goes further than DC. DC, you have to put base stations on it.
Yeah. Right. The transmission line of DC, to use DC, would have to be this thick, where AC is like this thick. And of course, we all know what Tesla, what good old Thomas Edison did to decry the usage of AC was to basically electrocute Jumbo, Ringling and Brothers, Barnum and Bailey circuses, giant elephants, because it went on a rampage. And Edison said, "I want to show you the dangers of alternating current." And they did this. Thanks, Pierce. They just went by as I said that. Very funny. They like the history lesson as well. They said, and they fried the elephant. And there is a motion picture of 1904 or 1905 when they actually did the actual electrocution of Jumbo the elephant, and it was used to be basically to bash Tesla and alternating current, where Edison was all about use mine. It's like, it's not going to work, man. You'd have to put in the infrastructure. You'd have cables that would be about this big to transmit that much energy from point to. It was just not functional and practical. But in any event, like I said, the fact that he went through here and he said, this house is registering 2,000 milligauss positive, and in some parts it's 2,000 milligauss negative. I said, what does that mean? I don't know. He says, well, normal is between 300 and 500 milligauss positive. And I said, and he goes, and furthermore, he goes, my meter will only register up to 2,000 milligauss, either side, positive or negative. So he goes, it's peaking. It's going well beyond that. I just can't give you a number because we can't register it on this piece of equipment. Our limitations are this order of 2,000 and 2,000 up and down. Yeah. So it was interesting to say. He said your house is like a giant bipole, and he said when a spirit manifests, meter spikes to 2,000. When it disappears, it goes back to. He said, after a year of investigating and taking readings here, he goes, your house is always on fire.
I just want to tell the audience that the people that in the audience, milligal is what your millimeter registers on, your K2. That's all a milligal.
But that's AC. The K2 is AC is primed for AC currents, not for DC, because it's used for homes. If the K2 meter is not, before they start doing it for ghost hunting, it's a device that electricians would test to see if there was AC bleed out from the from the conduit or from the electrical outlets. That's what that was really for. So Barry Taft said, that's freaking AC.
Properly grounded or neutral is bad, stuff like that. That's what all that was measured. But milligauss is actually a Tesla measurement, not Edison. And Edison usually does with, the DC. So it's different measurements with all that.
Right.
So yeah, it's a unit law type of thing.
So stuff happens here because he says the environment is conducive for spirits to manifest. Yeah. And I started thinking it's like you take an alligator, you take a reptile from a cold environment, it's sluggish. You bring him into a warm environment, it becomes active and runs around. Same with the spirit. And I've begun to believe that everybody's got one or two spirits minimum around them. And I'm not talking about hitchhiking spirits, which I don't believe in, makes no sense whatsoever. Again, take the ego out of it and you start to realize, why the fuck is a ghost going to follow you from one location to another? Because you're so special? That's you talking and desiring something that's most likely not happening. And the spirits around you are the ones that have been around you since you were born, or friends that have died, or relatives who have passed over that are hanging out to check up with you and see how you're doing. And when these people walk into the house, the spirits around them hit this environment. It's like a day at the beach for the spirits. So they're like having their time, and people have said, oh my God, somebody just tapped me in the shoulders, and I turned around, there was no one there. And I said, who's the first person that came to your mind when I asked you? And they say such and such. I said, are they dead? And they go, yeah. I said, that's most likely the person that's interacting with you, not Sharon Tate, who doesn't know you and has no reason to say, hi, you're my biggest fan. It's like, I really give a shit. I'm dead for 55 years. Please, come on. You know, but we've had relatives of Sharon's here, or people that were connected to Sharon's family when they were younger, and they came here and stuff happened. And it was like, oh yeah, they said, that's me. We just want to let you know we're here. I'm thinking, geez, you really are something else. And it's like, there's a direct family connection to the decedents. So I said, that makes sense, because why it's the shortest distance they said is between one point and another is a direct connection. Not, I'm your biggest fan and you're floating up here. And it's like, well, you might be my biggest fan, but why do I care? No offense. And they come back to saying, you know, no, I'm not here for you. And that's why people have missaid, you know, they said, you know, you're exploiting the murders. It's like, I'm not exploiting the murders, man. I have people come here all the time. All these social media influencers come here, don't pay a dime. They come around, they try to help me promote the movie and my book and stuff, but I do it because I get a kick out of sharing the experience with these guys that I've met and I've had friendships with for years. And you know, it's sharing with them so they can share with the public and demythologize some of the paranoia of the paranormal.
Yeah. Maureen, I cut you off before. You want to ask your question? I'm sorry.
I don't remember what it is now, but I have another one.
I'm sorry.
So why do you think all of these spirits are coming into your specific home? I mean, like, yeah, you're on Cielo Drive, but I mean, it's not like you built over that property.
Oh,
is
no,
it
I'm not.
Is it you?
No, it's like I said, I think it's a combination, more like Barry had said that, and Marianne Winkowski had said, and Lisa Williams had said, as well as Chris Fleming. It's like, it's on the other, what we don't perceive on this plane of existence, on their side of the coin or their plane of existence that they live on, this is like a hotel. It's a ghost flop house. To them, it's like a beacon. Thank you very much. You sons of guns.
That's what I was going to ask you.
An oasis. They said it's an oasis in the vast expanse of darkness. And there are places like that across the globe, but they said they like it here. Like Lisa Williams, when she came here, she goes, there's a whole group of spirits in your bar. And I'm like, and I started squinting and looking like, what the? I said, I can't see it. She goes, well, there's Jay, there's Sharon, there's Rudolph Valentino, whose house is across the canyon. She goes, there's a bunch of other people I don't recognize. And she goes, there's also a group of Native Americans. And this blew my mind because I didn't know anything. She goes, there's a group of them just hanging around this campfire. I said, campfire, what the fuck? She goes, no, not on this plane of existence. It's not there. You can't see it, but they're hanging around and communicating in their language. And I'm like going, holy shit. And she goes, well, they just want me to tell you, they really appreciate you hanging, letting them hang here. And this is the expression I'm like going, I said, Lisa, we're all going to die at some point.
Yeah.
Far be it from me to go kick them out of the house now, so that when I transit to the other side, they go, oh yeah, there's David Oman. Oh, do you remember him? He kicked us out of his house, that son of a bitch. When he was hanging out there and then the rest of eternity. Then the rest of eternity, I'm going to get my ass kicked around by a bunch of spirits.
Yeah, you're going to kick your butt.
And she says, she goes, saying that's what they like about you. And I said, what? She goes, that you really are so unique. And I said, well, I'm being honest. I'm not making this shit. I said, I know how things are. I said, I make no bones about the obvious. And she goes, well, they just want me to tell you they really appreciate you. It's like, I appreciate them too. And people don't understand that I have no problem with it. What do I gain by kicking them out? What do I gain by pushing them away and then them being a pill to them? So when I pass over, eternity is going to be a sucker punch in the gut every single minute of the day. See, that's why I said, I don't think about myself because it's not a problem to me. I don't care. They're here. They do stuff. They have broken stuff. Yes. All right. You have shown yourself, but you did it once. Just like with the electricity, you did that one time and then you stopped, which is true. I mean, to me, I don't find them bothersome. I find them curious. I don't find them, dangerous and threatening. They're more protective of me than anything.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that. They think that everything's a demon. It's always a demon. Everything's always
Yeah.
well, yeah, they're going to be angry if they're stuck here for too long, but that's not what it is. But I think it was more a question of why your particular home, because when people say to me, like, you tell us, like, when I first started using my abilities, there was a mafioso in my house, and there was a woman in a Victorian garb, then there was a kid with basketball shorts on and no head. And I always explain to people that I think personally, for me, my son was living with me at the time, and he also has abilities, so we were a beacon, which is the word you use. But you seem to be talking to them also, so you have abilities.
It's like you don't see. It's like I'm hearing stuff. It's like, all right, I heard that, and I call them out when they start trying.
Right, you're hearing or hearing.
I'm hearing. They're saying stuff, and it's like, I heard that. Yeah. All right, fine. It's got it. Enough. That guy. I just respond to them like they're guests. Sometimes they get on my get up my butt about stuff. And it's like, this isn't.
So you're hearing them with your ears, not here.
No, I hear them. They literally, you can just hear them. Like they say stuff. It's a mingling of just knowing and having the experience. It's like, all right, I got you. I heard. Yeah. Shut up. You're getting enough. I heard it. I heard you the first time type of thing. It becomes a nuisance. So sometimes they get a little bit impatient, but it's not like I have the ability to like say, all right, tell me about this person I'm meeting right now. What are they like? No. They just decide when they want to communicate.
So it's more of a knowing for you, which is here. That's what I'm like. I'm watching as you're doing it, and you're more like,
no, I'm here. They said, no, it's not a knowing. It's a combination. It's like
okay.
Enough. I got it. You're being heard. God damn it. Stop it.
Anthony, can you hear it?
100,000 of you sons of bitches in here. They hear you all. If you don't, you want to make your shadows go by, go make yourselves felt. Show them that you're here. Don't make me as a gosh darn mouthpiece. No, sometimes they just get really, when they go on podcasts, they like to be. It's like, I don't know who the hell all of you are. That's probably why I can't identify you all, because I don't know. Don't get offended because I don't. It's just the way it is. They say, all right, enough. Fine. They said, we're not going to be nuisance.
It's weird because I did hear before he started something. I don't know if it was something, but I did hear a voice, something like a woman.
See, now I have to
then he started, talking. That's.
I have a big
you are so open and you're so comfortable with them being there. That's why they just talk to you. I mean, if you have it doing that.
They said everything that you said is true, but they said the key to the reason why me is because I'm very sincere and I'm very honest, and I've learned that if they tell me something, and for instance, I'm at a meeting or something and it's a business meeting and I hear something after the meeting and I have to go to that person and say, look, and they go, how do you know this? It's because I have to tell you this. If I don't, I get cut off from my own self, because I'm not meant to be the gatekeeper for their information. Whatever they tell me, I have to pass it on to that person at that moment because they need to hear it. And it's not part of me. And if I break a contractual rule with them, so to speak, and I start to censor things, if I don't like what they're telling me and I don't want to tell, it says you have to tell them because it's not up to you to decide whether or not you tell them. The information is not meant for you. Therefore, if you don't oblige us, we will discontinue giving you information when it pertains to your own life and people and the situations that are occurring around you. And it's like, all right.
That's here. I mean, I walk through my house and like I'll see things. We actually even had a situation where my husband, he doesn't have abilities, and I was at the kitchen sink. He was walking up to me and he said, "Hey, babe," and I went to respond to him, and we both heard, "Hey," and we both looked back, and he looked at me, and I said, "That's what I get all the time."
We've had that happen. I had a friend, Steve Hembry, that was here. We had a bunch of people here. It's got to be like 6 or 7 years ago. And there's a video, 6 or 7, more than that. Yeah, 7 or 8. He's in the kitchen, in the dining room, feasting on the platters of food that are out there. And he's just picking away, and there's a camera maybe 35 feet away. And he starts talking to us and goes, oh, this looks good. This looks good. And then you hear a voice. He heard a voice that says, oh, yeah. Steve was like this. He goes, David?
Was it Anthony?
No, it was just the spirit chiming in. Said, oh, yeah, that looks good. The salami. And the spirits are buzzing by. All right, so that was you then. I got that. They said, that was us. That was us.
We always talk about the gabagool.
Matter of fact, the other day I had a gabagool sandwich and I knocked a tooth out. I had to go to the dentist and they put it back in.
Anthony.
Oh, God.
Okay, wait. Go ahead.
No, I just have an implant in the back and the gabagool got the ghoul underneath the gaba and pulled the tooth up.
Just putting up a channel on YouTube, a YouTube thing, subscribe and like. That should be us, not somebody else. Crap. Nightbot.
Oh, the Nightbot gets rid of any spam.
But that is spam.
Well, we'll get to that at another time. Oofy wants to know, David, are there ghost gangs and are there hit ghosts that go around bumping off other ghosts? What is the social structure of the afterlife like? At the
time will be, you got to be nuts. There is none of that shit. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say this, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty They said, yeah, you're pretty confident of shit you don't know. All right. But from my perspective, is that better? Did I couch it for you guys to make you feel better? From my perspective. What, are you kidding me? You think Don Gatty's on the other side running a goddamn joint with a bunch of Puckies boys that are making things like bad for other spirits? No, I do not believe that. I've heard a lot of that. And I say, I don't believe there's such things as bully ghosts. Like Casper the Friendly Ghost had his 3 stepbrothers that were such pricks during the whole thing. Was they were the antagonist and he was the protagonist. I said, that's great myth making. It makes great movies. It makes for great ego speak, as I like to table it as. But are you kidding me? What? It's like people said graveyards are the most haunted places on the planet. Going, like the hell they are. Mm-hmm. Graveyards are the least likely places to be haunted. And Barry said this to me 20 years ago. He says, graveyards are just repositories, like a junkyard is a repository for a demolition car that has its soul, as we used to say, is gone. That's where the car goes, to the junkyard. When we take a body and the soul and the body, here's the body. I mean, here's the soul, here's the body, which is wrapped around the soul. Once that splits, they're gone. They're in separate places. Here's the soul and here's the body. They're not like, all right, we're going off to the mortician. Oh, well, let's watch. They just cut me open. I had to watch myself get my. What do you take that product out of my ass? What are you kidding me? Get that out. No, could you imagine your afterlife being stuck watching your body get zipped around the skull and the brain case gets taken out and the whole, it doesn't work like that. And if you think about it, nor should it. It's inane. It's insane. It's crazy talk.
There's a question for me. I'm sorry.
They're draining the blood out of the body. They're putting in the gosh darn, the embalming fluid. Oh, yeah, I can just see that. And then when you're dead in the ground, there I am. I'm looking at myself and my body is turning into mush. It's like, oh, my God, what a lovely life I'm living now. Or afterlife. Hello, doesn't work. But the mourners, such as the instance of the lady in red that used to go to Rudolph Valentino's tomb on the anniversary of his death and put the rose there. When she was alive, she did that as a pilgrimage every goddamn anniversary of Valentino's death.
Valentino.
So when she died, there were reports on the anniversary of a woman in red that would walk up to the grave of Valentino and she would place a rose in it and then she would vanish. Mm-hmm. That is something that I believe could make sense because in the statement thereof, the causation of why she was there at the goddamn cemetery was because she used to go there over and over and over and over and over when she was alive. So again, to her, that was a sacred spot. That's where we come up with the terminology, visiting your old haunts. Not talking about ghosts, mind you, but when you play it around, you say, wait a second, where do you think that comes from? It came from the idea that when the dead person came back from the dead to visit as a spirit, he went to the places that were his favorite when he was alive or she was alive, when they were alive. Mm-hmm. So they visit these places And that's why people go to these places, and you see a wall and the spirit walks through the wall, and it's an old Victorian converted home. And then you look at the floor plan and said the original floor plan, this wasn't one stupid room that was in a rental. This was a whole Victorian home. So they built walls that to you and me exist. To them, it's not familiar because their path that they would walk was right through that corridor that no longer exists. And that's what that's about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So there's a lot of stuff that we've been told that I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
No, it just doesn't. It does not match to what I've experienced here at the house and in other places I've gone to and other places where, you know, so this place I say, so yeah, tell to the spirit who's talking to me right now. He thinks otherwise. And you can hear him, like, I can goddamn see him. He just walked right by. And then he said, oh, you can see me. It's like, yeah, what's going on? Then I hear the lowdown. It's like, oh, you poor son of a bitch. He goes, yeah, I really don't like these people. I said, you can't change it. They live there. You don't. You're not living. They are. And I had to say, it's like, look, try not to piss on them when they're doing their thing just because you're upset. You know, it's not going to do you any good. And it's not going to do them any good. Neither one of you is going to be happy. How are you going to get along? It doesn't work. You got like a mutual, reasonable balance and a point of center point. And there's the thing. Most of the crap, I don't want to get into it. No, I'm not. I'm not going to. This isn't my guy. I'm not freaking Harry Houdini, you schmucks. They said you should look. There are a lot of things that I don't buy into, and I've been seeing psychics since I was a kid. It's either paid or people that went with what I meet and different things. They were psychics. They said, "Oh, you've got tremendous energy in this." It's like, yeah, whatever. I've heard it before. Because to me, I had been hoodwinked enough times by gypsies. Oh, you have to bring in your sock and a shoe of this other person. Like going, and it's all I started to learn. It's all gypsy mumbo jumbo to get you hooked, so they can bleed you dry financially. And a lot of people get sucked into that. And I was one of them at one, years and years ago. I just said, you can't ask somebody else to do your dirty work for you if you're going to play with spirits. You can't ask somebody else to tell the spirits to get lost. You got to do it yourself. I found that in a lot of cases, a lot of people who cry about getting scratched in their freaking mind, they want that. They make no bones about it. I've had people that have been here that have gone into the earthen wall room. My friend Trey who went into the earthen wall room, came running. I said, something scratched me, something. We pulled up the back of his shirt, and right in this little spot, like the 3-inch section between his shoulder blade down where he couldn't reach from above and the spot in between, there's that section of back you can't touch. He had a little red mark on him. And the spirit said, well, he got what he wanted. And I said, what the? And they said, physical proof. So I said, hey, Tregu, before you went in the earthen wall room, did you get a little pissy attitude statement in your head? And he goes, well, I didn't say anything. I said, but you thought something. I said, did you think something on the lines of, I want some physical proof? And he went like this. He was like, I didn't say anything. How did you know that? I said, well, I'm here to give you a little 411. You got your physical proof. And they didn't disappoint, did they? And he goes, I said, you had that stinking little snotty ass attitude when you walked in and you challenged them. I want physical proof, you thought. And he goes, yeah, I did. I said, well, we watched the video and you see the back of his collar of his shirt go like this, lifts up, and then it comes down. And then he's like this. He goes with one hand, then he goes to the other hand. He's like reaching for it. He couldn't get the itch. And I said to him, well, you got what you asked for. You're physical, and there's the proof. And again, people are not honest. And that's what I learned. I didn't do it. It's like, no, you wanted to see, and you challenged them, and you wanted, and they well, I got scratched. I said, because you damn well demanded it. Because in fact, you were the causation of it, and you were putting it off to them. Well, you don't believe them. It's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go challenge an energy form that we don't know crap about and piss them off and push them in a place where it's like, okay, fine. You want to find out what real is? This is real. Yeah. And I say it about Nick, about Zach, and about Aaron when they were here. They were kind of, let's be honest, much as they do their job, there's more skeptical bullshit behind that storyline. And when they were here, they got beaten up for some of their disrespectful antics that they put off with some of the reenactments. So
yeah, well, they were challenging. They were challenging a lot,
right? And you do that, and they're wise enough, and they know that they're going to do what they're going to do because you think you're so bright and smart and high and mighty. Fine, deal with the consequences. Or as they said, F around and find out.
That's right. Yeah. So somebody asked me a question if I had, am I by any chance picking up anything in your place?
Hold on, wait,
What's going on?
Who's R.L. Grolke? I find that the terms jinn, sin, and yokai are more useful than the terms. Let me get the semantics out of the side. All three of those terms are no better than demon. They're bunk human ego speak. People don't understand and decry that they're demons. And unfortunately, there's a better chance in a spirit existing than something that you read out of the Bible or the gosh darn Quran about demons. Because there ain't no demons in the Hebrew Bible. I've never read that before. And I'm pretty familiar with Tenrikyo, the Japanese religion that's there in Japan that's not Shinto and Buddhism as well. I've looked at the idea that there's a demon because you read it in a gosh darn book written by a man some 4,000 years ago, whatever, or 2,000 years ago, decline that. Is that? I'm sorry to break the news to you. It was written by a human being, and it was written in a time that the context thereof is that Rome was persecuting the gosh darn Christians like Firecord would, okay? The demon was Rome. The mark of the 666 historically in a triangle with a 6 and 2 6s at the bottom was the Roman tax stamp. To the Christians in the early era, those were demons. They were demons on earth. That's why you guys with the 666 and the mark of the devil are just repeating the stuff that the early Christians from 2,000 years ago were talking about because they were being thrown to the lions, burned to the stake, thrown to the gladiators in the games, and the incarnation of the devil in the eyes of those early Christians was the country. You mean the what do you call it again? The Empire of Rome. So when you start to examine what the basis of all your 666s and all that stuff and the demons and stuff, and you start to realize what they were up against, and then you say in those contexts, that made sense. Understood? Present day, that don't make sense. That's what's understood. And that's why I said you have to examine it historically. And I love history, and I love looking into Roman and Greek stuff, but I'm sorry to break it to you. There's greater chance of somebody dying and coming back as a ghost than there is of somebody coming back or something there in line from Christian writings as there's a demon, etc., and the idea of people getting possessed. Yeah, Zach Baggins gets possessed more times, so many times he needs to be repossessed. And let me put it to you this way. Most of those possessions have been proven to be psychological imperfections in human beings. Nothing to do with any external force jumping into them and occupying their body. I'm sorry. Ghosts are not hermit crabs looking for something else to occupy because they shed their flesh and they're dying to get back into the body that they didn't have any longer. That another is a myth of just grand, stupendous ignorance and proportions. Let me get this to you straight. You died a painful death. You're beheaded, or you were in a terrible car accident like Jane Mansfield, and you went through so much pain and trauma at the end of your moments on life on this earth. You're going to tell me that you're going to want to go re-enter and want to have to feel anything after that? Rationally speaking, I think not. You're going to want to be happy. You died of cancer after 2 years battling it, and you went through chemotherapy, and you basically wasted away. You're going to want to come back to feel anything? The last thing on your thought is jumping into a body to feel pain, physical pain, which you have left behind you. And that, this is, you have possessions or what is it? Objects become, occupied vessels for ghosts. Let me go show you something. This is a piece of porcelain. It's an ashtray. Thank you, spirits, just went by. This is the same material that they used to make China dolls out of, baked porcelain. This has got about as much likelihood of being possessed or attachment of a spirit as a China doll. Just because the gosh darn doll is in the effigy of a human being makes it no more prevalent as a vessel that a spirit is going to want to jump into. Yet everybody comes back. This doll is haunted. This doll is haunted. There might be a small percentage that might have an attachment, but it's not the attachment that you ascribe to it. It's that doll was a little girl's doll. It was the only doll she had. She died poor and dejected and lonely and alone, and that was her only friend in the world. And you now possess it, and it's still something that she treasures. She might hang around with it, but it's not like there's a body or a spirit inside that doll making the doll do its thing. I'm sorry, it's just so foolhardy. And the idea that piece of porcelain, because it's shaped like the face of a little kid, becomes possessed because it's an image of a human being. And of course, human egos speak, it's got to be because it looks like us. Then the porcelain dildo could well as be as well. What's her face? What's her face? The woman Mae West's favorite, porcelain dildo. There it is. It was her favorite. It's her prized possession. It's like, come on, guys. It just doesn't work. Because her toothbrush also, because it was her favorite toothbrush or favorite comb or favorite brush. I mean, it's never ending. And people are profiting on this stuff. And I'm going, and we've had people bring haunted objects here. And nope. Nothing happened. Not a thing. Even an 1880s spirit board, pre-Ouija board, looks just the same, except it was on a piece of wood board about 3/4 of an inch thick that was from 1880, and it was basically carved and burned into that had that, this and that, and nothing really happened. So, and it was supposed to be loaded with activity, and I was like, bring it in. Come on, I don't bother wincing and whining about it. Bring it in. What do I care? Let's see what happens. Let's see if there's something to this. So far, not a hell of a lot. So,
do the spirits that are in your home, have they ever shared what it's like, whether it be the other side, heaven, different dimension? Do they ever tell you anything?
No, there's stuff. I found through trying to figure that out. There are things they can't talk about. No, because to give me the insight and scoop of what's going on there, is the old saying goes, there are things you will know when the time is right, and you will not know until such time, and that's that. That's why the world's greatest and oldest question is, what happens when we die? I ain't got the answer to it. I just know it's not what we believe from what I've seen here at the house. And the activities just, they're like, well, we'll tell you this, we're not reliving this goddamn tragedy over and over again as every asshole comes up with, oh, they're reliving it, It's like, are you guys for real? Do you really think they're stuck in that loop? Oh, they're stuck on this planet, this plane of existence. It's like, they ain't stuck, kids. We've come up with some wild-ass myths. They have a ball and chain wrapped around their legs. People say, well, they can't be haunting your house because they died down the street 150, 200 feet away. It's like, I said, yeah, they've got the chain rattling too, and they got the big ball at the end of the road. Some motoring around where the hell they want to go. No chance in the universe is that even close to truth what I've seen. And they don't give a damn. They want to be as people and not treated as just a parlor trick. That's because they are. That's true. To me, I respect them 100%. I love them to death. I never have a problem with them, and as a result, you don't see me here crying, going, "Oh my God, there's a ghost! Oh my God, there's a ghost!" It's like, what? Are you serious? What am I going to do? Banish them? They know that I have no power to get them the hell to move on to what they want not to do. They do what they want, and you know something? I'm okay with it. It's not a hardship. It's kind of fun at times when stuff happens. It's always interesting. And as far as my relatives or friends that have passed away or my pets, never seen any of them. Not a one. And I've had 9 cats and 3 dogs, and not a one. I've had other people that have seen one of my dogs, and I said, he just I showed him a picture. He goes, yeah, that's the dog I saw. I said, yeah, that's my dog that died X amount of years ago. And I'm like, well, son of a bitch, that's crazy. So,
I mean, with the spirits in your house,
time out. Who's? I looked up. She said, read this. I take it you're not a fan of transmigration, then? Honestly, never heard of it. But I have a feeling Sharon says I'm not going to give two bits about it because it sounds like another myth man-made of those that try to make these statements that are so beyond repair towards the paranormal. It's like, well, yeah, I was like, really? Really? And Sharon says it has something to do with the spirit migrating into somebody's body. I mean, you guys could tell me better than I can if that's what that's about.
I would say it's transferring from one body to another. Like,
you have a better chance of changing your sex in this day and age than you do about changing your soul. I'm sorry. No, I do not. I find that to be mythical dream talk from people who wish for things that come out of Harry Potter and are trying to make them into the real world.
RL, is that what you're...
I'm not a fan of Game of Thrones. I'm not a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. They are fraught with fantasy beyond repair. I don't care about Tolkien. I'm glad he wrote the books. I'm glad they're fans of them. I could give a shit about them, to be honest.
I think that's what he's saying. RL, is that what you're asking about? Oh, or transmigration equals reincarnation. So not like body jumping. You asking about reincarnation.
Oofy is hysterical. Another great movie trope. Mm-hmm. It's true. Oh, biggest movie trope is this freaking the Buyik box. About 5 years ago, when I first got wind of this crock, I kept thinking, this is a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of... So I did a little research. Come to find, my friends that go to the Kabbalah Center, where Madonna used to go, said, yeah, that's heavy duty myth. It was put out in 2000 as a prop in a motion picture. And that's where you can find the most oldest information about the Buyik box, because pre-2000, 1999, it didn't exist. And the idea that, the Hebrews and this and that, going, shut the fuck up. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. And when you talk to the sect of the Jewish religion, that is the Kabbalists, which are the mystical, they believe in the mysticism part of Judaism, just like you have the others of other different religions that have their mystic sect of their religion. They said, yeah, that's bullshit. It doesn't, there's no such thing. It's been concocted beyond repair. I said, I didn't think there was such a thing in the Jewish religion as far as demons. He goes, not really. No. I said, I don't remember ever reading it when I read the Gosh Time, when I went to religious classes to learn about the different religions of the world, because I wanted to get a little better broad understanding of not just Judaism and Catholicism, but I wanted to hear about Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Tenrikyo, and learn about, just to understand a little bit better of how man has created religions. And then, of course, talking about the Sumerian religion and all that stuff, and saying, if you look, each one of these periods going back 10,000 years to early history and early man had their types of understanding of dealing with, the religions that they created. Mm-hmm. And it was like fascinating but sad, because it's all been put out by different human beings to interpret and cope with and rationalize the concepts of dealing with the natural world and making sense of, why are we here? What are some ideas of edicts, of rules that we should live by, and trying to help better ourselves and stuff. And it was fascinating, but all I kept on realizing that spirituality is here, religion is here. They do not merge. They're totally different, and they serve two different purposes.
So you're going with, you do not believe in reincarnation?
I don't know. That's reincarnation is not necessarily. I know that religious people can believe in that, but that's not to say that's not part and parcel only to religion. That is also spirituality. It's the rebirth. Buddhism discusses that when you die, you come back in a different form to height until you get to the top, and you've completed all the different levels till you finally are the soul, the perfect soul that has experienced every form of existence.
Mm-hmm.
So spirituality is possible. Look, I'm not discounting that you couldn't be. It's like it's a possibility. I mean, rationally speaking, if you think about it, what are you going to do with 10 billion zillion goddamn souls? You're going to get overflow if you don't start recycling them, so to speak. Where are you going to put them all? So it is possible. I mean, and I don't put it this way. I don't spend a hell of a lot of time thinking about reincarnation, honestly. I don't care, because I think in the terms of the here and the now, I could give a rat's ass how it's going to end up. I'm not living now so that I can pad my landing on the other side by doing what some book says that I should do because somebody wrote it 2,000 years ago.
I just think it's a valid question from the audience if you believe in it and how you feel about it.
Let's just say I don't think about it.
Okay.
So yes, it could be possible. I don't think about I look forward to coming back as a young, as a black girl in the future lifetime, where I come back as a Buddhist monk. I don't really know. I don't, because I'll tell you Sharon just said it again. Who cares about that which is unknown to your future? Why would you give a rat's ass to give it 2 cents to think and worry about that which is not right now in the present moment concerning you today? Because that is as far flung removed from being in the living, breathing moment where you are right now. She goes, people are
living in the moment.
I'm going to think about when being crying. It's like, why do you bother? You're dreaming of something and fantasizing because you're not wanting to deal with something that is pressing on you right now. So it's easier to think about the future and those things that are way beyond our control than to address the stuff that you're doing right now. It's an escapism. I don't play that anymore. I've learned it doesn't work. Hoping and focusing on this week, we're going to have this going down there. Belief system. Yeah. Treat everybody as you would like to treat you'd like to be treated yourself. Respect, dignity, integrity, sincerity. The 4 words that make up the foundation of how I like to live. Mm-hmm. And if somebody crosses those bounds, then, we can talk about insults and saying, leave, don't bother with me. I don't need to be around you. You're a proven calamity that I would rather not partake in engaging in than wasting my time trying to help you figure your shit out because you decided you're on your own fantasy binge and you're trying to take everybody else down with you. I steer clear of that kind of stuff. I don't like to label things. Am I a Christian? Am I a Jew? Am I a Muslim? It's like I'm a human being living in the present day, dealing with present day occurrences. What the spirits do provide me with, I take as it comes.
I think people are just curious because you have so many spirits in your home and it's a paranormal experience. So most people who are investigating the paranormal or are experimenting with the paranormal, most people do have, some form of belief system, or a lot of people.
I guess I can cut you right there off right now. I don't.
Okay.
I'm the crazy son of a bitch that says, something, I've listened, I've heard, I've seen, I've heard from this one, I've watched this one fall apart with this theory because everybody's beholden to a theory that doesn't pass the eye test or the water test, as I like to say. Mm-hmm. I've seen it a million times come in and walk in and get shot out of the sky because it's fraught with so many obvious variables that it doesn't address. And I said, something, why try to put it into a box? Here, why try to force it into this box? Why does everything have to be in a box? So we're happy because that's what you're talking about. It's human beings' inability to accept what it is and go with it and try to figure it out as it goes along. Instead, this has got to be the goddamn answer. This is the answer. It's in this box. No, it's not. And that's the problem.
You don't like labels.
Right.
You don't like labels because everything's a label. I mean, everybody has a label for something. So you go without labels and everything, which is cool. I mean, I live the moment. I live now with people. Don't judge them. Just let them live their lives. And that's the way it should be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Here's the example we're talking about. When I had last week Scott on tape, Scott Parman, a.k.a. Scott on tape, out here. And he was with my friends Victor Huesca and Jazzy Nicole. And I've known Jazzy and I've known Victor for a number of years longer than Jazzy, but they brought Scott over. And I'm reading over the comments in his video and stuff, and I'm coming up with, you should have the carbon monoxide levels tested and this and that. And I'm going, who the flying F are you that think that that's what's causing it? I said, you're doing this, you're doing this. I said, look, I got 25 cameras throughout my house and 5 on the outside and in the garage. When you sit there and you make statements that are so nefarious and so pathetically reaching for some excuse because you can't rationally deal with it, and I have to say, how about this, schmucks? I have video footage that can't be altered because the CO2 levels, as you are providing us as an excuse for, are causing the television cameras to pick up audio recordings of voices when they're not there, to mess up with the electrical, to do things that we recorded, to move to video objects that are getting knocked over. I said, I get irritated, and he gets irritated that I go onto his channel and there's like 30,000 views, and I'm commenting and reading the comments. Why? Because just because somebody wants to play keyboard warrior and make these comments, somebody's got to say, it's like, something, what the hell are you saying? And who thinks that and you think you're so smart when, if you look at some of the evidence, you go, something, you're right. That's not possibly being affected by what I'm attributing it to. So maybe I should just be humble and shut my fat mouth and stop trying to be a naysayer and shit on you like they do and have. And said, David was upstairs, and all this stuff was happening. The one guy said it got worse when David went upstairs. And I said to him, but there was activity when it was just the four of us in the theater room together. So the idea that I was there and they dismissed the 15 or 25 minutes that this stuff is happening, and I'm sitting there going, what the hell do I know? And he's like, I don't believe it. It's like, yeah, it's part of the house. It happens sometimes. And, and these guys are making these comments. And I say, but what about the first 25 minutes when I'm there with him and it's happening and it's not as active? I said, you're freaking wrong. Like somehow Dave's got the house rigged and he's making money and he's spent millions. It must be great when somebody can spend millions of dollars to build a house and make a fun house out of it for ghosts. What a disgrace. And I'm going, hey, asshole. I didn't pay millions of dollars to live here. I built the house with my father for less than $500,000. $500,000? Yeah, $500,000 was when we finished, right. And I put the cameras in because I got tired of my friends coming over to set up their cameras. And I'm like, all right, 2 hours to set up, 2 hours to tear it down. I'm up at 3 a.m. going, I got to go to bed now. And I said, son, I want the cameras because the insurance dropped because I put cameras inside and outside the house. I have the ability to record when my cats or dogs are missing, and I have to watch the cameras to say, oh, you son of a... How did you get in? Oh, my God. So there you are, and find them under the gosh darn cabinet because the cat slipped under the cabinet somehow. And it's like, all right, so to me, it's not a criminal experience as a youth. Yes. Yeah, I was, as a kid, I used to, we used to go ghost hunting as a kid and stuff. So just knowing, having the experience of taking a girlfriend home and the spirit saying, don't take her home. Have your friend Glenn take her home. He lives right next door to where she lives. And if you do, it's like, no, I'm going to do it anyway. I said, look, I don't want to take him. No, take me home, take her home. What happens? I ended up totaling my car. Or, David, be careful when you drive to go visit your friend Ron that you don't want to go too fast because you're going to get a speeding ticket if you don't pay attention. And yes, I got myself a speeding ticket on that instance, and I started to realize every time I hear the voice tell me something and I dispute it or I disregard it, I pay. So I got to the point where saying, son, when I hear them talk, listen. It's for your benefit, it's to protect you. And I started to listen to that, which youth will not allow. But at a certain point, you get your hand slapped with the proverbial ruler here.
I went to Catholic
school. This is because you didn't listen, you son of a bitch. So I started to listen, and that's one of the things that I gained in knowledge in becoming wiser as a young adult. That you got to pay attention.
Your spirit guides don't like when you don't listen to them.
Well, they don't give a shit is the problem. See, you mistake. See, it's not enough like. See, like or dislike would be ego. If they said, do it at your own peril, I mean, if you do it, it's not skin off our back, just like you tell your friend, do it if you're going to do it. But if something happens, I am going to tell you you're an idiot. I'm not going to have any anger towards you, but I'm going to remind you that you didn't listen. And you should learn to listen to when we tell you don't do X, Y, Z. You won't get your hand burned.
Because then they're going to, if they're trying to warn you about something that's going to come up in your future, and they're going to keep warning you because they're going to put something else in your path if they're trying to stop you from something.
Well, again, they said no. They only give you the one warning on that on one thing.
It depends on the thing.
They said, when we told you not to take her home and you disavowed it, you took her home, you had the accident. We didn't tell you. You had to come to the conclusion that, Jesus, I didn't listen to you guys. And it's cause and effect. If you don't listen, this is going to happen. If you do listen, this will happen, which is you will block it. So that's what I learned. It's they're not like, she goes, we're not beating it into his head. We give it to him once. It's his to take or leave. If he takes it, then he's following the right smarts. If he doesn't, he suffers in some way, shape, or form. He doesn't listen. He has to learn by example, and his examples are that, I told you don't do it. I tell you once, and that's it. And that's how it works. David, do you have any paranormal experiences? Oh, that we already read that one. So that's really about it. They believe that some experiences that one has in life are mandatory, others are.
That's what I was referring to.
No. She said they're everything. See, what we don't understand is we diminish experience to grade levels. There aren't any. Life, the whole totality of her life, from beginning to end, is a learning experience. That's why there's no such things as mandatory or optional. It's everything is optional, because it's not a matter of, I don't believe in free will. It's like, you have free will. It's like, now that's just a diluted statement of cockeyed fact. You have very limited free will. You have to learn your lessons, because you are constantly, in every day that you're alive, you have lessons that you will learn from. You might not see them at that instance as a lesson, but make no mistakes about it, those are lessons. Everything, how you treat the milkman, how you treat the guy at the service station, how you treat the guy at the market, or the girl at the market, or at a restaurant. If everything in your life comes back to haunt you, as the old saying goes, if you choose not to pay attention. Meaning,
like karma.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you have a choice. You have a choice to do whatever you want to do. But in the end, your actions will provide you with other reactions from other people. And that's the story of life. You have to learn to deal with that type of inequity and stuff.
And there's an action and there's a reaction. It's fact of life. Car driving down the street, another car goes in front of it, they hit. It's the same thing. It's reactions, a car hitting the other car because the other car coming in front of it. So it's always action to reaction.
Excuse me. Eufy. I hope I'm saying that right. Or Oofy.
Oofy.
Or Eufy. All right. Oofy. Those are lessons. They told me something. I didn't listen, and I dismissed it, and I had the accident.
Mm-hmm.
I dismissed them again when they said about going to see my friend Ron, and I drove too quickly. And I have, no, honestly, Todd and Carmela, UAPs, I'll say UAPs in one else. Again, this is about UAPs and everything. Everybody's going to hate me for it. But look, yes, they exist, because the odds, as Carl Sagan said, there's too many billions of galaxies across the universes that are out there, and we are just one solar system in the Milky Way galaxy. 2, they are 2,500 light years, translated into lay terms, about 1 million years far advanced human beings. 3, if you want to make an analogy that I see that human beings to an alien, or an alien to a human being, would be, here's the alien, here's the human being. And in places, there's a human being, and here's an amoeba. When was the last time any of you gave a rat's ass about an amoeba? If you're not a scientist, you're not studying them, and you're not, there's no chance you give a shit about an amoeba. You don't pay attention to it. And that is where I say the whole story of UFOs. Again, human ego speak. Harvard University, which has now knocked itself down to the peg of, are you fucking serious? You have the audacity to make such a statement and put your gosh on label? This is my answer to Harvard University with their science department saying, there's a possibility that there are aliens that are walking around in human guises. Bullshit! When was the last time you, gosh darn, were so prepared to go shrink yourself down to the size of an amoeba to go talk to an amoeba? And that's not even an accurate analogy because the amoeba is far more advanced than the human life form compared to the alien that's a million years advanced of us, technologically, physically, and has no interest whatsoever in a human being because we are specks of shit to them. They laugh at us. Why would they give a shit about us when they are so far advanced? And I'll put it to you this way. Once again, when was the last time you thought about an amoeba? And that's the truth. And my dad used to say, there's probably his life form, but think about it. They're so far advanced. What do they give a rat's ass about us, the lowliest ass species on this planet that can't even get along interspecies wise or interacting in their own species spread across this globe? Are you serious? You really think that an alien life form could care less about us? Come on, it's so far beyond preposterous. Yet you all operate under the guise that you know that technologically speaking, the crafts that you've seen and have witnessed, they can't comprehend. The smartest of the smartest of the smartest on this freaking planet can't wrap their fingers around it, let alone contemplate. And you guys think the government's hiding stuff. The government's hiding stuff because they don't know what the fuck they're holding on to, because they don't know. And their greatest of scientists, including Stephen Hawking, didn't understand and couldn't tell you. And anyone who says they can and they do is blowing hot smoke up your ass and selling tickets and selling books and selling all their lectures about it. But let's face it, if you think about what you're operating under the pretenses of that you know and you've seen, are you seriously thinking that there are people that know what the hell's going on with that technologically advanced society and just what do you think they give a shit about us? We're driving freaking cars that go 60 miles an hour. They're going 5 times the speed of light. Do you guys understand what we're talking about? That's like taking a tortoise and taking a gosh darn hare with a jetpack on its back times 100. That's the comparison. There is no comparison. They don't give a shit about us, and they're not trying to steal your organs. They're not trying to prod your asses and give you an anal probe. Try to break it to you. They don't care about us. We are so freaking below their standard of existence. They're like, Sasquatch is something that's probably most likely a distant, is not a cryptid. It's a gosh darn animal that exists across the globe that is highly suspect of human beings and wants to stay the hell away. And it is probably a delineated lineage from the what's his name again? What's the name of the guy? Not Australopithecus, Gigantopithecus. And yeah, there's no way that it doesn't exist. It exists, but it's not interdimensionally flying through the space-time continuum as people love to think. It's a real live creature, an animal, and that's it. He's there. He hides out. He doesn't want to deal with people because he hears and sees what we have done to his relatives or his friends, the deer, the bear, the mountain lion, other species that interact with him. He don't like the idea, and he's smart enough in the head to say, that's my demise. They'll kill me. I will be cut up and smoked as meat. So that's probably why they're smarter than we give them credit for. But yeah, they exist. But aliens, we're too small on the scale of curiosities for them to bother with us because they're so far advanced.
Amoebas. We're amoebas.
We are. And people don't like to hear that. It's like, well, you want to explain to me how that son of a bitch was able to make that craft disappear in about a split second? And they said, we can't understand when a pilot says it went G7 from G2 to G10. We can't do that maneuver. You think that there are people smarter in the goddamn Pentagon that know what the fuck that is? No, they don't. And they can't.
They work for the government, so probably not.
The government can't. Here's the reason why the government won't ever come clean on this. Because when they say we don't understand what the fuck we're dealing with, lie to your self-conscious confidence in your government, everything collapses. And here's the factual truth and acting point reference. Orson Welles did something called War of the Worlds, a radio broadcast in 1931 or 32 on Halloween night in the East Coast. The reaction, the government monitored how many people went out of their frickin' skulls when they heard that the aliens were attacking from another planet. And it was on a radio, not video, not television. It was a radio broadcast. And he kept saying, this is just a story. And people lost the shit. And the government paid and said, we're going to write down a doctrine because we are not dumb. We see the way the human being responds. The human beings collective responded. We don't want to deal with that. We are now taking notes to prevent this ever from occurring because mass hysteria and panic will destroy the foundation of our society. And people haven't gotten wise to that fact, which I find utterly amusing and utterly just, it's like, what do you guys admit that these aliens exist and they are so far technologically advanced, but you don't want to admit the other side of the coin that we don't know and we will never know. And that's a simple fact you're not willing to accept. And the government's trying to protect you from yourselves and your fear, because fear destroyed. A couple of people died that night, and it was only in the East Coast broadcast from New York City. And in Pennsylvania, some guy shot somebody because he thought he was an alien, and people overreacted, and people couldn't handle it. So because of that psychological response, the doctrine has been, keep the fucking lid shut on that and don't talk about it. Keep what they don't know won't hurt them because we can't understand it. We can't explain it. They're going to kill us if we can't because we're the ones who are supposed to know. And if we don't know, their fear is going to be through the roof and everybody's going to lose their shit. And there goes your basis of religions. All religions go to hell in a handbasket because if they're aliens and they don't fit into the equation of your religious doctrine, what does that do for your religion? Okay? Now you're starting to understand that it erodes on all physical, mental, emotional, financial levels. And they know that, and they know what happened 89 years ago in 32 or 33 and said, no. People can't deal with this crap. So these idiots that are digging deeper, trying to do, I'm going to move on. It's like, you assholes are as bad as the goddamn government not telling the truth because you don't want to admit that the technology is so far well advanced of your perception and comprehension. You're thinking that these guys in the government know, and the truth is you're not helping anybody, but you're subverting and undermining what's going to end up happening when our governments and all this stuff happens, because everything that I said, as one psychiatrist said, psychologist said, and sociologist said, it'll all collapse because all the foundation of what we understand has been eroded and drops. Chaos will ensue. That's why I don't give a shit about aliens, because I know well enough to say, if they're here, they don't give a flying F about me, and they don't give a flying F about you. No matter how much you think they need gold, there's more gold in the universe, on other planets, and other titaniums, and other very, very rare metals that are more important to them than the crap that we so preciously hold dear. Gold. So what? That's not what they want. And I don't care that they want to place human views onto an alien. They're not. Never will be. And that's what people have a difficult time with. This one personality is yours. If the personalities run the gamut. Do they have personalities like yours, or do their personalities?
I think she means, do they have similar personalities? Aliens. You said you don't care because
aliens are not human beings. They aren't. You guys have got to get your thoughts out of your UFO books. Aliens are a completely, look, you have about as much in common with an alien as you do with a goddamn starfish. Okay? And that's the easiest way to say it, because it's so far removed from one another. People think aliens share our feelings. Get rid of invasion of Mars, or Mars invades, or whatever, invaders from Mars.
Oh, she said spirits. Sorry.
Spirits are the energy of the person who died. It's the energy that lived on. It's just that simple. That person's energy. Look, when I saw my mom dead 10 minutes after she died, and I went to their house and she was dead in the bed, and I saw her frozen like that, and I touched her skin, and it was like a quarter, maybe an eighth of an inch pliable, and then it was just cold and hard. Like you couldn't, like I did like this, and I was like, it's just like I can't push my finger in. It's not supple. And I said, that's not my mom. That is not my mom. I said to my father and the nurse, I said, that's not my mom. I said, my mom is no longer here. I said, the energy that coursed through her veins and her body. And when she died, funny enough, the power went out in all of West Los Angeles. I found out the next day because I went to the house and I'm driving up Sunset Boulevard. And right when I got into the West Gate, I started noticing that the traffic signals were out, all the street lamps were out. As I drove up to the house, it was all dark. And I looked around, I didn't see any lights in any of the area. Turns out it was all West LA. The second she dropped dead, all the power cut out. And I was like, that's my mom. She was a force of nature to be reckoned with. And I said, that's it. I said, and she used to tell me, she goes, when I die, come back. She didn't believe in that zombie crap. She used to say, when you die, you don't come back. There's no vampires. There's no freaking zombies. There are no werewolves. Dead is dead. Seeing her in the home that I grew up in the bed that she slept in for more than 40 some odd years, frozen there, stone cold stiff as it was the realization that everything that I believed in was afraid of the zombies and mummies and Dracula and the vampires and afraid of the dark went right out the window, just diminished to nothing. Because I said, my mom used to say, dead is dead. I'm looking at her. Dead is dead. There is no return. This idea, he's coming back from the dead, is like bullshit. If he comes back as a spirit, that's one thing. But the idea that that vessel is no longer containing the life force that was there. That life force that was my mother is what carries on. So that energy, that kind of determination, that kind of force, that energy that she had is what carries on. That's what I believe. It's the same with when my pets died. One died 7 weeks ago today, damn it.
Sorry.
No, he was 17 years old. He was a great, loving cat. And when I said to him, I gave him a bunch of morphine, a couple of little syringes full of morphine to help him pass over. And I gave it to him, and it didn't do him in, it didn't kill him. I said, Terry, I love you. He looked up at me and he reached out his paw towards me, and I lost it. I just lost it because I knew he heard my voice and he was connecting me. And, literally a few minutes, maybe an hour later, he had passed. And I took his body and I buried it on the side of the hill with my other pets. And I sat there and I said, here we go again. It doesn't get any easier, but it doesn't get harder. Meaning that I've not gotten, after losing my mom and my dad and my 3 dogs and my 9 cats, it was like, it doesn't get easier, but it's just, you kind of understand it better. It's like you already know you're going to be miserable, and you don't stop yourself from feeling the pain. As I've learned, you have to, at the moment you feel that sense of I've got to cry, you don't stop. You just say, let it happen. Better to get it out and to let myself feel instead of blocking it and holding it in and holding it in and holding it in. Because when you hold it in, it metastasizes inside you into different ways and is reborn in anger and frustration and what could I have done, when you realize at the end of the day, there's not a damn thing you could have done. It's just the way that things are, and I eventually will go that way as myself. And just, it even to this day, obviously I still think about him, but it's just like I said, have I ever seen any of my pets? No. And I think there's a reason why I haven't seen any friends or my pets that have visited me, because I think that would be too much for me to deal with. The idea that I'd have to be not confronting, but I'd be seeing their spirit, their apparition, would be more than I'd want to handle. And that I don't need to. I don't say, I want to see my mom. I want to see it. It's like, why? It's all it's going to do is it's going to jerk my chain, and I'm going to be more upset and more depressed and more lonesome and missing them than, it's like reopening an old wound. I don't want that. And I pretty much have said, look, when I pass, I'll see you then. You don't have to visit me. I know I'd love you to, but I know that you're not going to, because you know who the hell you're dealing with and how it's going to hurt me, and how it's going to take me away. So, so he says, did you have ever had moments where you can't remember who or what? No. That's called amnesia. And no, I've never had any of those things like Zach Baggins wrote in his book, I Am Haunted, a pile of shit book that somebody wrote, which is pictures of him in every other position he could possibly be in, and about this many photos of spirits. He wrote 3.5 pages about me. He says, well, David sometimes confuses his own life with the life of the spirit that's occupying his body. I said, put a fist up your rear end, Baggins, and we'll call you a flesh puppet.
We actually don't talk about him here. I always say the name that we shall not say.
All right, the name that we shall not say is a poser fraud, and it's finally catching up to him, and people are going after him on YouTube. People who have contacted me about the show that I was on 10 years ago, and the fact that he went up on me and said, you know, the house isn't haunted, David's haunted. I said, dear heart, you were in the house by yourself and you got shit on by the spirits, and I wasn't anywhere near the house and I was outside. So it's kind of hard for you to make that statement. Secondly, if you really believe that, aren't you a stupid ass for going that route? Because if I'm haunted and I messed your ass up here in my house, I could travel to Vegas or I could do it from here remotely and start to mess up with you if I was so, as you say, and a poltergeist agent. So, you know, people make these statements and I go saying, well, that's the fact that this, and this are in play as well, because you can't pick and choose what I can do and I can't do when you say I'm possessed and I'm a poltergeist agent. And that's where people shoot their mouth off and get caught in a trap. Because if you say this is the situation, then I got news for you. If working within the parameters of what you're saying, there's a lot of things that could be done that you're not admitting and you're scared to even think about, because when you examine what their statements are and you say, well, this is going to be this, and this, and this, and this, and this can also be true. And then they go, and I realize it's like, yeah, you're so smart, but not very in the long run, because you made a statement that's doesn't answer what happens about this part of the situation, this part, and this part, and if this and this happen, then this and this are going to happen as well. And they go, yeah, carbon monoxide again. There's carbon monoxide levels in the house, or the conduit in the walls is causing the amplifier that we've gotten from the telephone repairman who was here 10 years ago putting in the cameras, and he, by accident, has this little amplifier device that's a wired conductor, and it's two components. One is a battery and a little operated clip that you attach to the wires, and it sends a signal down the wire, so you can find that wire at the end of the gang of wires, and the probe can fit, and you hit that wire. That's the wire you're looking for. And I was doing the installation of the cameras, and by accident pressed the button. As he was walking around the house, and he goes, what the? He goes, that's not supposed to make that. I said, make what? He goes, this is an amplifier. It has a range of about 12 inches from the probe here outward in all directions. And he said, look, he presses the button, it's making a sound. He goes, look, no effect. He goes, but when I get within 12 inches, it has an effect on the amplifier receiver. And he goes, it should be quiet. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you have 12-foot high ceilings in this room. I've got the probe at about 5 feet. So I'm 7 feet from the ceiling and I'm 12 feet from the walls. I'm in the middle of the room. This is picking up energy in the air. Because I can't explain what the hell that is. So I went out and I bought the goddamn thing. It's not a ghost hunting tool. And I went around the house and I started toying around with it. And I started to hear the frequency would get really loud in certain places. And then I'd walk 3 feet this way and it would slow down and it would quiet. And then I'd go outside and it was dead silent.
So that's we do use that to ring out or just to find wires. So you walked around the house with this thing and it was reading?
It was getting sounds. I mean, it was picking up energy.
It sounds because it should be connected to the other side, because that unit has its own battery pack in it to run the wire.
It has a battery, yeah. The receiver has a battery, obviously. The little receiver has a battery in it. The little the amplifier has one. But the point is as he said, he goes, you're in the middle of the air. You don't have the electricity on. This is just picking up energy. So it can't be bleeding into the middle.
It's ringing out the wires normally when we see what wires to ring to the other wire. So that the actual connections, the wire from the unit to the buzz. So it's supposed to. Now, if you walk around just a buzzer without the transmission coming in, you shouldn't get nothing.
He said, he goes, what? Because I don't understand. So we open up the sliding glass doors, and when you walk outside the door, it quiets. You walk inside, it starts zizzing. And we're getting different acoustic signatures where we were getting like, I said, what's that? He goes, I don't know. He goes, it sounds like a goddamn. I said, it sounds like a machine gun almost because it's like.
What happens with that is there's in the wires there might be a break in the wire. There might be it's not a full connection. When you have a connection, you should get a solid ring.
Right.
You're getting that. You're not getting a full connection, but it shouldn't be ringing without not being connected to the other unit.
Right. The transmitter that sends the signal down the wires, which gives, is one thing. But I mean, I'm talking about in the middle of the air at about 5 foot, 6 foot.
Working.
And I'm doing like this, and you hear the sound go, ooh, and you walk around, it changes. It sometimes gets really quiet. And then, of course, I go up to an electrical outlet, and you can hear the sound, and it's picking up the energy there. But that's from about 6 inches out. So again, it doesn't make sense. So I call people out of there.
With me,
yeah.
When I get stuff like that, I always look what's above. If there's, a ceiling fan or some kind of what it might be where the wires are running, or if you get it when it gets lower, there might be something underneath, that's actually like a light or a fan. Ceiling fan is always a but you're always gonna get something off the ceiling fan. It could be on the other side of the floor and you're getting something off the floor. You're like, oh wow, there's nothing there. Just go look downstairs because there's a lot of wires or whatever running across ceilings. Or if it's a big unit or lights, that's when me. Right. I debunk everything because of lights, where's the next outlet, and even electronics, computers and stuff. The computer wouldn't set off as much.
Right.
You'll get a little maybe a buzz because there is to that it's supposed to be 120, but none of white gets 120. You might get 115, 118.
Right.
In most units. But you shouldn't get no ring, nothing at all. And without debunking it like that, I would say, wow, that's crazy.
We're talking about, now remember, I built the house with my dad, so I know what and where we have.
You have an idea.
I know what we're talking on the top floor. There is no 220 heavy gauge copper, wire or copper conduit going through that's the one spot, and that's
only 220. You'll be putting air conditioning on, or maybe a refrigerator, or maybe a electric oven or something like that.
Electric oven and the AC are the only two that are 220 in this house. Everything else is all 110.
Yeah, and you should have 30 gauge wire.
Exactly. So we're talking the living room, which is again 12 foot high ceilings. There is no computer on the top floor. The one that's in the den is the other room, which is around 25 feet away, 30 feet away. And the ceiling lights are LED lights. Oh, what a beautiful cat. Black cat baby. That is a big cat.
He's huge. His name is Bishop, after Bridget Bishop.
Of course. Yes, Bishop, who is in my movie. What's his face? What's his face? Lance Henriksen, Bishop, is in my movie.
That's
By the way, we're getting to that time that we're going to be going to another show. So if you want to have it, if you want to start talking about anything or like anything, you want to, tell us, or you got a book out, you got the movie out and stuff, so where can people see these things or where they could buy them?
Well, right now the book is available in paperback signed, which this is it. This is the actual book. This is the latest version. This is now, it's got a shiny cover on it because we switched printers, and he says, why don't you go with the shiny cover? It's better. It's like, okay. It's at ghostsofcielodrive.com. You can get your copy. I will sign it. For an extra $5, I will personally inscribe your inscription that you tell me to write in there into the book. The book is about 200. It's a quick read. It's only about 220 pages. It's gotten very good reviews from the people who have bought them. They're $20, $5 for shipping and handling. And by the way,
how much did you send a ghost with it? Send the ghost. If anybody wants to have a ghost at their house,
buy a copy of my house.
He's willing to share.
I'm willing to send a spirit from the house.
Yes, why not?
Whether they stay or not, I can't. I put them in the envelope, in the padded envelope. I said, you stay there till you get there. Say hello and get the hell back here when you're done saying hello, okay?
That's it.
You're the greeting card. Remember that. Then, like I said, the movie is House at the End of the Drive. I found out yesterday that somebody had ripped off the version, downloaded a version of it, and put it up on YouTube. Because somebody said, "Oh, I see your movie's on YouTube." I said, "I haven't uploaded it." So 3 days go by, and she goes, "David, your movie is up on YouTube. You better take." So yesterday I typed in, it's like, "Who the?" And I was like, "I don't know who this." It's like, I didn't author. It's like 1,258 views, all good positive feedback. But I'm like, I'm renting this on Vimeo right now, which is, what is it? Ghosts of Cielo Drive .vhx.tv. And that's where they can see it, or go to house at the end of the drive.com, and the link is right there. It's up for rental at Vimeo, but somebody stole it, downloaded it, put it up. So I don't know how many download versions there are now of the movie.
Wow.
But
So it's
nothing I can do about it. It's there, it's done, and
it's
it's off now.
drive.vhx.
.tv. Or go to houseattheendofthedrive.com. The link is right there. When you go to the main page, it's like, click here to see the movie. And then, of course, we have a ghost investigation. The first one that's been done here in several years before COVID now. And this is being done with Mary Mason on the 29th of June.
I thought you said Perry Mason.
Ironside, no, Ironside's not here. And that they can go to, I think it's cielodrive.eventbrite.com. And they're $99. Cielo Drive .eventbrite. And they can get tickets there. And, I'd like to see, if she does well, we're thinking of doing an event on the anniversary, because people always want to be in town for the anniversary. And it's like, I don't want to disappoint them, but it's like, if they want to come for that and it's a big thing and it's summer, I almost feel obligated to make the house available to them, because people, think that it's, and I say, look, if you think about it, and people generally don't, what is there for the spirits to be celebratory about the anniversary of their passing? Yes, it's the 55th anniversary, but it's the anniversary of when they were killed. It's not a happy time. So
that's what I wanted to, that was the only question I didn't get a chance to ask you. So do you think it's been proven that spirits still have their emotions as souls? And we have a friend that works on therapy. Do you think that something like that would evoke the emotions and bring that back around to make that hurt come back? I mean, we've heard that there's screaming, there's crying, they obviously speak. Do you think that that would be something that would harm them?
I personally don't think they give a rat's ass, which is the real statement of, would you care if you were in their shoes? And nobody takes that out of and puts themselves in their position, which I said, after 22 years of living here and having people come here on the anniversary expecting something to happen. Mm-hmm. And the actual anniversary is the 8th of August into the 9th. Yes. So it's at midnight of the 8th going into the 9th. So only one time do I recall on the 8th into the 9th ever anything happening at all that was, wow, that's profound and really intense, which was apparently, I don't want to misquote. I think it was 11 years ago. No.
Because there's two dates. The 9th was the Tate murders. The 10th was the La Bianca murders.
No,
so that's
the morning. Remember, it was Friday night into Saturday, the 8th into the 9th, 1969 was the Tates. The La Biancas was on Sunday night.
So that's two major traumatic experiences happening on the same street. And happen, I'm sorry, not the same street. You're right.
They're not. The idea that they're labeled as Tate La Bianca is kind of sad, and personally, I find it disingenuous, because the fact that the perpetrators of the crime committed the crime and they commingled them, it's unfortunately such a misnomer of great disparagement of the spirits. Because
so how far is Waverly from Cielo?
Sharon Jay's and Wojtek and Abigail and Stephen's murder took place down the street from me.
Okay.
That was one set of murders. The La Biancas are the real, as when I go as far as I can say it, they are the odd man out. Meaning, Manson went down to a street called Roble Vista Drive, drove to the end of the goddamn cul-de-sac, and was accosted by the person's guard dogs behind the gate at that location. and then turned around because that house he was familiar with, and he knew the people that were there and wanted to kill those people. Turns out that was about 200 feet away from where my parents had my father's first duplex that he still owned in 1969, built up on this hillside, which is, again, an irony of ironies in my life. And you go, what the? But again, I discuss it in the book because there's a lot of strange coincidences or threads of connectivity to me back to the murders, in the fact that in 1970, my parents' house was broken into in the middle of the night while we were sleeping, and somebody came in while we were all asleep and started moving stuff around.
That's so weird.
The next morning, and I was the one who discovered it. But a year plus earlier, my mom was giving rides to the Manson girls that were hitchhiking from the bottom of Bellagio Road Drive and going up from, Bellagio Road and Sepulveda, going up to visit a neighbor friend of ours, Jan Berry, who was famous for being one of the two duo that made up the Jan and Dean rock group that was connected back to the Beach Boys.
So your mom could have been
because she had a daughter and she saw these girls hitchhiking going up the street, going up Bellagio Road, and as it was then, as it is still now, it's a windy, treacherous little switchback type of a road that if you're walking on it and somebody's hauling ass down the street, you could get hit because there's no sidewalks. And sometimes people are walking in the gutter and in the street, and if there's more than one person, you're trying to get up the street, and it's a wicked street. So she felt bad for them and said, come on in. And again, this is the naivete of pre-Charles Manson murders, that nobody was concerned about picking up hitchhikers and giving them rides. It was the way of the land then.
A big thing back then, yes.
It was a thing that was done, and my mom was not opposed to giving them rides. They looked innocent, they looked harmless, and she didn't feel threatened by them. So she said, no, come on out, I'll give you a ride up to my house, and then stops in front of her house, because I remember, she goes, this is David, I'm Mrs. Oman, and this is our house, and I'm not a chauffeur, so you've gotten up past the most treacherous parts of the streets going up.
Oh my gosh.
You don't worry, you can walk up to Jan's house, it's another half a mile up, but it's not that big, steep
did
drop.
that happen before the break-in?
Yes, that happened in early 69 and late 68. She would give hitchhikers rides. And then after the murder, she was like, nope, we're watching the gosh darn television when they uncovered the murderers in November of 69. And my mom she goes, oh my God, the pictures of Parker Center are showing the girls that are protesting in front of the jail and the trial. And she goes, oh my God, she goes, David, we're watching the nightly news. She goes, those are the girls those are some of the girls I've given rides.
Your mother just introduced the killers to your home.
Well, not the killers, but members of the family.
Right.
But not everybody in the family was a killer.
Yeah.
There were people like
God.
Snake came here. Snake came here to the house 5 years ago with my original publisher on my book, because she was writing a book about inside the Manson family. And she was one of the people who turned state's evidence against Charlie. And she had four attempted murders on her. There were hits on her. She got sick once. They overdosed her with LSD and she went to the hospital. And she was one of the reasons that Manson got prosecuted and thrown in jail, because she's one of the insiders that turned state's evidence to divulge the true inner workings of the family and what was going on there.
Oh my God. That sent chills down my spine.
I thought the house was going to implode when I brought her in, and I kept on hearing the spirit saying, "What are you crazy?" Because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't. The trial, the case probably wouldn't have been solved and wouldn't have been prosecuted to the nth degree, because she's turned state's evidence. We earn her debt and gratitude, and that's why we have no ill feelings towards her. She did the right thing in prosecuting the case against them.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't mention this either. Then my mom didn't believe in any of this.
Ghosts or Tate?
None of it.
You mean Manson?
None of the abilities, the psychic ghosts, nothing.
Right.
What was that?
The night before Sharon Tate
Somebody
was
calling
murdered.
back. Who
Oh,
cares?
it's your phone again. Oh, okay.
The
I
night
thought it was
before
like
Sharon Tate was
podcasting.
murdered,
Sorry.
she had a dream that was going to happen.
And there's not much she could have done. What was she going to do? It wasn't like there was a part. There's one last myth before we wrap this up.
And she woke up and she watched the news and she said that she fell to her knees screaming and crying to my father that she had this dream and she can't believe it. And this beautiful woman and her child, like she thought she should have been able to do something. And then after that, she said that she didn't believe in ghosts. She didn't believe in spirits. Just, if my Nana was around after she died.
But your mom had precognition, meaning she had a vision of the future events.
That one time. And it was like, there was one other, my aunt was very intuitive, like very witchy. And my dad's side of the family had some too. So that's where I got it from.
Wow.
And my son's super on point. Like he doesn't even have to meditate. He doesn't need to prepare. He could like tell you.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but a lot of people don't have to do that. I've never done it. I've tried it. I found it to be very much not running. It ran counterintuitive to my own ability. I'm sorry, trying to slow my mind down. No. I don't need that.
I think it just pushes
right through
it
us
away.
Doing this it's like, oh my ass. And the spirit, so that's okay. Everybody is different. That somebody says you have to do this to become enlightened. Thanks, spirits, as I move forward. I saw that. There is no absolutism about how you contact the spirit.
I think everybody's different.
Everybody is wired differently and everybody is different. So it's.
Anthony, what were you going to say?
No, I'm just watching the time.
Oh, yeah.
Flying by, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have someone who does a show at 10. So, and it's 9:48.
I see that.
Yeah, I'm just watching the time.
This did go super fast.
One thing I did want to say is that there's the one myth that really bugs the crap out of me that people on YouTube and some of these Instagram things are posting about is the party that everybody in Hollywood missed. And I sat there and I said, look, I looked into it very closely, through the historical references and stuff. And what I found was there was a bunch of shit that everybody in Hollywood claimed to have been invited to a party that never was, and they never were going to be there in the first, second, or third place. But everybody wants the association of the tragedy that they were spared the tragedy by an act of fate, and they didn't end up there, which is a crock of crap because
at the Tate house?
At the Tate house, the night of the murders, because the Chuck Norris said, Bruce Lee and I were supposed to be at the party and we would have made a whole different scene had we been there. It's like, Chuck, shut up. You weren't going to be there ever. Bruce wasn't going to be there ever. And the fact that you assholes and the rest of the goddamn crew in Hollywood caterwauling, saying, oh, we got this and this. And Steve McQueen had an affair with some girl that told him, she said, let's go out and, I didn't go to the price. Like the fact that in his memoirs that what's his face? Steve McQueen had said, I got detoured by a party and this and that. It's like, McQueen, you sick, sycophantic son of a bitch. The fact of the matter is you're not only insulting Sharon's good name and see, that's what people don't realize. By making the statement that Sharon was having a party that night, then puts the position of, well, Sharon's 8.5 months pregnant. She's 2 weeks away from giving birth to her child, less than 2 weeks. And you're telling us that in that time frame, she was inviting people over so she could be cavorting and hanging out and partying into the late night hours with a bunch of people, makes Sharon look like the biggest you-know-what on the planet because that's not who she was. She had told her sister early in the day, she goes, look, I'm going to dinner. Abigail and Wojtek were living there because Roman Polanski wasn't there. And Roman said, look, I want your best friend and my best friend who are dating. Roman said, I want out with, and the fact that Abigail and Wojtek had been staying there for the prior 3 months, house watching and house sitting while Roman and Sharon were out of town. And he said, look, if her water breaks, you can rush her to the hospital. So because I don't have a lot of faith in the ambulances getting up here in time, and I don't want anything to happen to my baby. And again, this is Sharon's first child.
Yeah.
To say that she was just a little bit concerned about the baby and its health. Again,
I think,
having a party and drinking, having people coming over, and when she's 8.5 months pregnant, she's less than 2 weeks from giving birth, makes no sense. And it's an insult to Sharon's integrity and her being and her personality and her upcoming motherhood. The fact is, she told her younger sister, she goes, look, I don't want you, I'm going out to dinner with Abigail and Wojtek. We're going to go to dinner. And Jay, who lived a mile up the street, was her ex-fiance, just came by to visit, was hanging out with them. And they all went to goddamn frickin' El Coyote to have dinner, came back at 11:30 at night. Then you say, well, where the hell and what the hell was this party supposed to happen? Oh, yeah. Abigail and Sharon were both in their goddamn nightgowns. Wojtek was in his goddamn pajamas. Jay was the only one in gosh darn clothes because he didn't live there and he lived up the street. So they were getting ready for bed. And Stephen Parent, who was outside, was in his clothes and there was no one else there. And then I say, how many thousands of people, celebrities laid claim to the fact that they were supposed to be there at Sharon's house for a party?
yeah. I think a lot of people like to connect themselves to
Famous
traumatic
incidents.
experiences
Right.
because it makes them like known, you know.
It makes them bigger than life.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. There's the old saying, if everybody who claimed to have been at Woodstock was actually at Woodstock, there'd be over 5 million people there. And there was only 500,000 people. And here's the other thing. If 1,000 people claimed that they were to be at Sharon Tate's at the night of the party, what are the odds that not one single one of them made it there?
Mm-hmm.
The odds are so stacked against that in the realm of reality that people are stupid enough to believe, and again, it paints Sharon in a really despicable light. And that's what really is the insult that people don't realize. As I said before, if you say there was a party, then you're saying that Sharon was a disrespectful, insensitive, impulsive, inadequate individual that was about to give birth, which is the exact counter of what Sharon was. She was a doting mother to be. She would stop drinking. She stopped smoking cigarettes a couple months before because she didn't want the baby, this and that, to be affected by it. She wasn't really partying much. She was conscientious enough to do those things, but not enough to not have a party. And then in Steve McQueen's book, it says Jay invited him to a party at Sharon's house. And it's like, why the hell and who in the hell is Jay to invite people to a party at Sharon's house when he lives up the street in his own freaking home, right up the street in Benedict Canyon? If he wanted to invite people to his party, he would have, but he didn't. So everything that anybody says about that supposed party is so full of crap and wrong and fraught with it that when I see these things and I comment, I'm saying, really, and people, oh, there was a positive. It's like, you're all stoned and stupid because all you're really doing is insulting the integrity and the character of Sharon Tate. And you don't
of your friends, your dead friends.
Yeah. We really do have to go.
You do.
6 minutes.
We got 6 minutes to the next show. And
it was delightful.
It was good. That's my YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram. Goes to Cielo Drive. On Instagram, it's the Oman House and House End of Drive as well, just like at the top of Twitter. And again, you can go to theomanhouse.com if you want to find out about the event. Yeah, there you go. Go to the OMAN house.com. There's a link there for the event coming up in a week and a couple of days, the 29th. I'm telling you, it is
OMANhouse.com.
Yeah, theomanhouse.com. There's a link there. And again, you guys, it was great. Hey, if you ever get out to LA and you want to come over and visit and do a live show from here.
Oh, I would love that. I know.
Please.
I would totally do that.
Oh, yeah. I do it. I offer
to. Definitely coming out one time. I know.
Anthony, you could put a blindfold on me and I'll walk in and read the house.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes, read the house. How's the house? Oh, it's reading very well today. Good. Give it
it's very active today.
By the way, Ron Iacovetti told me to say hi.
Hello, Ron. How are you, sonny boy? I know you're going to Europe. Find time in between Europe and come back out west. Come on. Well, we're still young and alive.
I think he's on a podcast now. That's why he's not in the audience.
Oh, of course. Well, tell him I want him to get out here. Jenny, very nice to be on Eufy. I love your octopus. Again, follow me on Instagram and on YouTube. And like I said, if you guys want to come out, you'll have a blast. I'm telling you. We've got
Thank you.
We definitely would.
it's
We-
fun. So
I'm always up for travel. Have to
Okay.
drag Anthony out with me, and we'll do some investigations.
Okay. Maureen, I think you're gonna have to
Okay, so this was another version of
hurry.
Dimensions of the Supernatural.
Yeah,
I'm Maureen Grudzinski, a Lil Witchy. This is Anthony Simonelli, Mr. Forget About It, and David Oman, the Oman House.
You be good out there. Be good. You know what's
quick.
Don't take
Be safe out there. We're looking for ghosts. You don't want to be a ghost.
Don't become one of
Forget
our.
about it. Hey, good night.
Hey.
Forget about it.
How you doing?
All right.
See you next week.
Hey, ciao.